Actually, we left off at chapter 19, we were going into the definitions, chapters 20, 21, and 22, and then we were going to backtrack to legacy lots, descriptions, and signage. Legacy lots being chapter 6.7, and signs being chapter 15.
Got it.
So,
I guess we can start with section B. Everybody ready? Section B, residential legacy lots. Ta-da!
hey, Don. He texted, said he'd be a few minutes late.
Okay.
Yeah, freaked me out a lot too. Why did we switch? Just,
Back to my theory, fire chief needed to be protected, had his back against the wall, wanted to look at the door, so in case somebody came in after him, he could see him coming.
gotcha.
Heather, did you see the video a couple of town council
I
meetings ago?
did.
Is that right, Bob?
Well, so the last 10 minutes. So the majority ruled evidently, and they want the escape.
My OCD was just a little upset, so thank you for clearing that up. Yeah. Plus, I'm gonna miss you over here.
I'm gonna miss you over here, but
We should all just.
Bob and I have been evicted,
He's gonna,
exchanged.
council's gonna need a microphone, a better microphone. You have no problem with karaoke, so I don't know what the problem is now.
Karaoke,
Yeah. Okay,
you weren't supposed to talk about that.
it's a public place.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, Rick, you said 6.7 legacy lots?
If you want to start there, we were going to start with, we left off in chapter 19. So to complete the document,
Give me a second. Chapter 19.
we were starting on chapter 20, definitions. Chapters 21 and 22, there's really nothing to those. That's just,
What page on the iPad is chapter 20 on?
125.
125?
thanks, Don. No idea, I've got a hard copy.
125. Oh, definitions. This definitions part was the one Chuck was quite amused by in the past.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay, chapter 20 definitions. Is there anything here, Rick, that you think needs a tweaking?
Well, I've said from the start that I'm concerned about how we address front yards. I think that we need to be more definitive about those front yards and what is a front yard. There's language in the ordinance, in this definition, that gives the plan commission the authority to determine what the front yard is on any given lot. It actually says that on a corner lot, the more narrow frontage is the front yard, unless otherwise specified by the plan commission members or a designated person designated by the plan commission to determine what the front yard is.
Which, for example, is exactly where we're at with Mr. Starcevich.
It
Right.
is, yes. So if we followed that, he would not be addressed on 142nd, he would be on,
Green.
Green leaf.
there we go.
But that also would give us the authority to say 142nd can be your front yard.
Yes, oh yeah,
Or
Yes.
shall.
yeah, absolutely, Heather. So you have that ability. That works well going forward with subdivisions that you're platting from here on out. And you can determine on a corner lot whether you're going to allow one address or not, and that address determines the front yard for that particular lot. But if a lot happens to be deep enough where it could be it could have a front yard on either frontage, then okay, let the developer or engineer assign an address to that lot that makes sense, and then the ultimate, whoever gets the permit can choose which frontage they're going to use for a front yard. But the way we treat it now is, Mr. Dusk, for example, when he was in here, he fronts on Colfax and 133rd, And because he has that double frontage, we treat both as front yards. And to me, clearly, his front yard is Colfax. He's addressed on it, he faces it. But because he was gonna have an accessory building between his house and 133rd, he had to get a variance for putting an accessory structure in the front yard. And I completely disagree with that. We need to establish what the front yard is and go from there. Same thing on through lots.
Are you suggesting that Mr. Duss would have came here and we'd have had this discussion at a work session or a planning commission meeting and said this is the front yard, and been done? And he wouldn't have had to come to BZA? You're saying that could have been dealt with here?
If the ordinance, yes, if we treated front yards in my humble opinion, correctly, then he wouldn't have had to get a variance for an accessory building in a front yard because that's his side yard.
Then who would have determined that front yard?
We could do that in definition, right?
Well, yes, you can do that in the definitions, but that's why I'm saying, like, going forward, Jerry, it'll be easy in new subdivisions that we deal with here on out. But existing, situations like that, I think we need to clarify the definition of a front yard in here so that that doesn't happen anymore. And-
So the person would not come here for...
Yeah, exactly. So if he has the room to build an accessory structure in his side yard,
Yeah,
all he needs is a building permit. And as you know, Mr. Duss probably, he's gotta have a couple hundred feet there, I suppose, from,
he's got a couple.
yeah, from 133rd all the way to his house.
Yeah.
To me, he should not have ever needed a variance for an accessory structure in a front yard.
He also needed the variance for the pole building, which
He did,
which
yeah.
took things down
Yes.
another road.
He needed other things as well, yes. Mhm.
Does anybody think that, instead of, when we have this situation, instead of one person making that decision, this group makes that decision?
Well, I think that's what you can do by the definition. That's what I'm trying to do by the definition, so you as a planning commission
Yeah.
determine what's gonna be a front yard going forward, and it's not put in the hands of a staff person. A person doesn't have to physically come here and ask you what it is, you determine it by definition. That's what I'm trying to do, is put that authority in your hands to make that.
And you'd simply administer it
Yeah.
internally in your department.
Correct.
Your staff.
Yeah,
I still think there's variables. On Mr. Duss Road, for example,
okay,
we have those kind of variables. We have corner lots, we have addresses facing, front doors, coach lights facing 133rd. So, we still have two front yards. I guess whatever the mailing address, what's gonna make this bulletproof, this language?
I don't know, what do you think?
yeah, I don't know that you're gonna make it,
Mailing address isn't by itself.
No, yeah.
no. But typically, where the house faces and is addressed, that should be the front yard. That establishes
Yeah.
the front yard.
Where the driveway goes to?
No, not necessarily the driveway, Chuck.
The driveway can go around the side.
Yeah.
Right, but with these legacy pieces of property, there's all kinds of magic going on there.
Yeah,
3 doors, 4 doors, garage, front garage on the side. I mean,
Yeah.
so to give it a real definition without a little oversight, I'm not sure is the best arrangement either. Could they come to the planning commission just,
Well, well,
for a concept? Can we
they
can't vote on it?
could, but why don't you make the rule, let's figure out what the rule is, and that'll work for
Okay,
93%.
right.
okay.
Right.
What we're talking about now is what the.
No, I
exceptions
understand. I got what you're saying. I just,
would be. We don't want to legislate for the exceptions.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well then,
Okay, yeah.
so, do we have to give you instruction on what the language will be to get to make the front door,
Do you have some language?
the address?
Well, you've got, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my hard copy, but this is all, of course, alphabetical in your definition. So, under yard front, yard, front, it just.
What page, Rick?
Well, my hard copy page.
That's what I got though too, so,
What's your hard?
38,
38,
38.
I'm being selfish.
It just says, A yard extending across the full width of a lot unoccupied other than by steps, walks, terraces, driveways, lamp posts, and other similar structures, the depth of which is the least distance between the front lot line and the front line of the building. That's a front yard. You have to go through this document and look at what setback talks about, and you can go to lot front.
Yeah, lot line, front,
And there's a lot line front is the boundary of a lot which abuts a street. On a corner lot, the lot line having the shortest length abutting the street shall be the front lot line, unless otherwise determined by the plan commission or the duly designated representative of the town. So, again, that's what I said earlier, the narrower of the two frontage, that's your front,
Right.
unless you as a plan commission decide otherwise, or the person or the designated representative of the town.
That was contemplated to be the building commissioner.
Yeah.
Whoever's.
That would be a vacant lot, not an existing building.
No, it's for a building to be constructed.
Right, yeah.
It sounds vacant for,
Presently vacant, you're right.
Yes, right.
to construct a building, it's not for an existing building. To me, I was always under the impression that the front yard was the side that it was addressed on. Now, my address says Carey Street, my front yard is Carey Street.
Mhm.
If you go take that in the same context and you go to where Ivy Street is on one side and Parrish is on the other, it's addressed Ivy Street.
Right.
So I would think that's the front yard, and the rear yard on Parrish would be the backyard.
That's correct. I mean, I agree with that.
That's the way I look at it. I don't understand this, because it's a through lot, you've got two front yards.
You've got two frontages, but not two front yards, is the way I
Correct.
look at that.
Right.
But, one of the things, you grant variances to front yard fences all up and down Ivy there for those houses that are on Parish.
Right.
Because it's treated as a front yard. I've also seen a variance for a pool in someone's backyard because it's a front yard on a through lot. And I think you're right, and if you look at lot frontage, which is on the same page 24, it says, "The front of a lot shall be that boundary of a lot along a public street. For a corner lot, the plan commission may select either street as the front line." The plan commission can do that. So, you've got the language in here to do it, particularly going forward. Our concerns, Jerry, is what you're saying, the lots that we have now that are they're askew, but as Dave said, if we try to legislate for the exception, we'll be here all night trying to,
And we're trying to make the rule the legacy lot,
yeah.
or legacy development.
So
Could it be an agenda item without the petitioner?
Well,
But
there's
you're trying to
a
eliminate that, I
there's a
think.
due process component to that. I mean,
Good.
if you're gonna go and make a ruling or make some consideration in public, they need to be here. The owner of the property that's subjected to or subject of
Okay.
consideration needs to have a right to be seen and or heard.
I know there's,
I think we're trying to figure out a way to put a definition in here, so we don't have to have all these people coming in.
I understand it, we're not gonna make it 100%.
Well, I'm really confused, because don't we have the definition? Isn't this the definition?
It is, Heather, but there are other areas in the zoning ordinance where it gets a little ambiguous as to what that front yard is. But I think we have in the definitions, what we need to say going forward is a front yard. I think to me, it's pretty clear in what we've just read here, in the three definitions, but you have to marry those, you have to look at each one of those and to understand what the front yard is. But I think in its simplest form, it's what John just said. It's where the house is facing, where it's addressed, there's your front yard, and then if my front yard is here and I'm on a corner lot, this is my side yard. If I want to put a shed, a pool, a fence, or whatever in the side yard, you ought to be able to do it to the extent the zoning ordinance allows it, and not treat this as another front yard that you need a variance to put a shed in, or a fence in, or whatever. It's, to me, in most cases, it's clearly a corner lot, or it's clearly a rear lot. Those houses on ID are a perfect example. None of those that back up to the parish, that's not their front yard, that's their rear yard. So, I think that's clear.
Well, there's always exceptions, and that's what popped into my head. Lakefront home, lakefront home, faces the lake, driveway comes in the back, there's no front door, but yet it's addressed at 139th Avenue. You know, those are gonna be those exceptions.
Yeah, do you need a front door to be the front yard?
I
don't think so, I mean,
But it mentions lights, lamps, things like that on here. In that other page 38, it mentioned, certain things that you'd have in your front yard. So if we designate a front yard to a piece of property, especially a legacy lot, and they come back for a variance for something, we may have created the hardship. We may have created the hardship by designating something the front yard, right?
That could happen, Jerry, yeah.
And
But I
at
think
that
there-
point, we can't allow a variance on something like that.
Sure, because you can change the designation. You have the authority to change the designation of that front yard.
At the BZA.
No,
No,
Here.
right here.
here, right here.
You have
Yeah.
exclusive
So they would have to, come here first.
You have exclusive jurisdiction over plats.
Okay.
Yeah, if there was a question on what the front yard is, then we as staff would direct them to come to you as the plan commission and say, help us define what this front yard is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, Dave, that's not a public hearing. That's just coming before you and saying, here's my
For
situation,
designation.
what's the front yard?
Right, but if you get a front yard, if you designate a front yard, and a year from now, 10 years from now, somebody says, hey, I want to do this over here, you say, well, that's your front yard, you can't. Then they're going to say, hey, can we change the front yard? We've created a situation that you really can't.
Well, I don't think they would change their front yard at that point, they would just need a variance for their,
That's exactly what they would need, because
Yeah.
you've made the decision.
Well, that's
by the
kind of my-
approval.
That's kind of my point. They can't come in here later and say,
I
well, I want
want
to change the front yard.
Well, yeah, you don't want them switching it back and forth
Yeah,
just for their
yeah.
convenience.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once it's a front yard, it's a front yard. That's it.
But that happens with the issuance of a permit and the issuance of a CO and a completion of the
Okay.
process, from application to use.
Mhm.
How is that
After
kept?
that,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
after the use is established, they're subject to our rules for change.
How is that kept track of? So if someone gets a building permit, they build their Starsevich say. So we established that his 42nd is his front yard,
Yes.
Mhm.
and 20 years go by, and then the new guy moves in. Where is it recorded?
Part
Recorded
of
plat.
the subdivision plat, it'll be picked up on the recordation.
So that gets changed, that could get changed over time?
It could, plat of vacation occurs all the time, easements are vacated.
But it would have to be picked up here for the next application.
Right.
But again, yeah, it's here under Title 36 for your review and approval, and there's also a public hearing component to that. So,
Got it.
But I think it'll be less hassle for like all those fences on Parish, where they come in and they have to get a variance, they won't have to do that in the future.
Right. I think you'll eliminate more of those situations than you'll create negatively.
Fences are easy though. So fences are easy. So it's other things that, are a little more involved.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of them.
Okay, so back to the definitions.
Okay. I can tell you the ones that I flagged, and if anybody else has any others, we can address them, but, Dave, particularly on, I don't know if you have the hard copy or not, but on my hard copy, it's on page 16. It's conditional use and conditional use permit. as you know, in the statute, that's in the section under, I believe it's
918.2.
918.2, where it talks about the things that the BZA has approval over, and that's special uses, special exceptions, conditional uses, and conditional, something else, Dave. But since we're gonna be getting rid of special exception language, I think we probably should be getting rid of conditional use as well.
Absolutely, there'll be no conditional uses in this ordinance
All right.
when we're done.
So I'm proposing we eliminate reference, the
What do we-
those definitions.
What's the new verbiage?
It'll be a use variance.
Right.
Or
and
variance.
development.
Use variance and variance of use, those are words for the same thing. They describe the same type of variance. So we would have no more special exceptions, no special uses. You haven't really been doing conditional uses and conditional use
Never
permits.
done one here ever.
Yeah, you do, special exceptions, but we've talked about eliminating special exceptions entirely from our zoning ordinance as an option. The state law allows it, but we're not going to, we don't have to.
We don't have.
What, I guess, so being in front of the BZA, then whatever is approved is approved. There's nothing special about
No.
yours
It's
or
just
Bob's.
a use variance. It'll become a use variance, not a special exception or a
That's-
special use.
That doesn't eliminate any, enforcement leverage, does it?
It does not.
Does not, no. In fact, what that does, Jerry, is, as Dave knows, with use variances and development standards variances, there are statutory criteria you have to meet as a petitioner to convince the BZA that you should get this, that your request. Special exceptions, the community is able to adopt its own list of criteria that has to be met. Typically, those are easier to meet than a use variance is. Use variance, in my opinion, is the hardest one to meet under state law. But yes, it's still, the person's still gonna, if they had to get a special exception before, they're not gonna be able to do that, they're gonna come to the BZA for a use variance instead. And there are statutory criteria that are in place that you need to consider in those, making those decisions.
Okay.
So, that was one, and then, under home occupation, we had talked several months ago
Rick, can we
about
go
needing
back?
to beef that up a bit. So I've added some language there, under home occupation, after having looked at Sherrville's and
Did
Dyer's.
somebody say they wanted to go back?
I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm
Dave,
just gonna wait till he finishes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They,
Go ahead, was there something at?
Yeah, I want to go back to the BZA thing for a second,
Sure.
and make certain you understand that your jurisdiction at the BZA is also for appeals. We've never seen an appeal here, but I think it's coming. I feel the growth of the community is going to find somebody's coming to the BZA on an appeal from an administrative decision. That would be of a building permit application, for example, or something similar. So, when you see language in here about appeal, administrative appeal, that's why it's
Right.
there. It's in the statute, we should recognize it. It's,
And we can't eliminate that.
we cannot eliminate it, and we do not want to.
No, we don't, no. I've never had one, I've never experienced one in 33 years, but, I know they exist, and
They're coming. I've seen them, I've not participated personally in one, professionally.
so this home occupation,
yes,
you have this, section here underlined.
yes, bolded, underlined, italic.
We're getting rid of that?
22. No, that's adding that.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
that's
All
adding
right.
that. Anything that I'm proposing getting rid of has strike through text. And then, on page 37, again, I get rid of the term use special. And, I'm sorry, even before that, on page 34, I get rid of special exception. There's a half a page worth of language that I'm proposing to get rid of, because that shows the special exception and the conditions, the criteria that we currently use to judge a special exception by, so I'm proposing to get rid of that.
Question.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about anything on here?
No.
Because, I think, glancing over this, again, wouldn't hurt. We'll be talking about it again in a month.
Rick, you noted that you want to delete the items pertaining, that are in the floodplain management ordinance, from which document? I guess,
Page
147, chapter 20, you have a note,
I'm sorry, where are you at?
Say-
Page 39 on the,
39. They consider deleting terms defined in floodplain management regulation ordinance to eliminate duplication and or contradiction.
Contradiction, yeah. I'm concerned about having them in two places, just in case we change them in one document and forget to change them in another.
I just think they're, just glancing through some of the floodplain definitions, I think some of these are different. Like, they're the same terms, but the definition is actually different. As actual floodplain ordinance versus here.
So are they better here?
No, I think they're better in the floodplain ordinance.
Okay, then that's what I'm getting at. I just don't, yeah, I know Dave's experienced this too, where we have definitions in two different places, and we have a different definition for front yard in subdivision
And they
control
conflict.
ordinance than we have in zoning ordinance. And,
Yeah. Conflict's a problem.
yeah, I like that, get rid of it in here then.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, Don. Thanks for catching that. And I think that, I believe that was the last that I had in, as far as my,
40, you got some crossed out of there.
well, that's in amendments, that's chapter 21, so. That's all I had in definitions. If anybody else had anything.
No, I don't. Are we moving on to chapter 21, or we're going back to 6.7?
21, please. Yes, well, let's finish this should be fairly quick.
What page is 21 on?
I've got on page 40 of the hard copy. Ashley, what do you have for the electronic copy?
156.
40 of the hard copy.
Or 156 of the electronic.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, okay.
First, proposed changes in section C there, form of application, and I crossed out by the first day of the month for informal review, because we're working on that as a staff to try, we're putting together a schedule that makes sense in order to get people prepared to come before you for the first time, and the first day of the month is not part of that schedule, that's all.
But you don't have a schedule figured out yet? Just curious.
Yes, we do. We actually have the third Thursday of the month is set up as a staff meeting for police, fire, public works, Jill, myself, Tim, to meet with prospective developers in advance of the first work session that they come to see you folks for. So that, and we also have, we as a staff, we have a standard staff meeting on the first Tuesday of the month. So we do have some flexibility to invite a developer into that as well. But the third Thursday is specifically to meet with prospective developers.
For the first Wednesday.
For the first Wednesday of the following month, yes, yes. And just for example, Jill and I are gonna be meeting, when she gets back with Diamond Peak on a proposal that they've got. They'd like to be here on December 1st. So she and I are gonna meet with them independently, probably early next week, and then with the rest of the staff on the third Thursday of this month. And then they should be ready to see you for their concept plan on December 1st of next month. So,
Okay.
um,
So this section 3 here, you're adding plat of survey?
yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Then, below that in cross out, that I wanted to bring to, I wanted to highlight for your discussion. is that something you still want to do? And that's where, Dave, if a zone map change has been defeated, let's say today, they can't come back for a year, is that still what we want to do? I think it's in the rules, the proposed rules that way.
It is, and I hope to keep it that way.
Okay,
But that's purely a policy call. The reason for the 12 months is so that folks don't beat us up really hard and come through here and it's a bad plan or it's an unacceptable plat or project, and they turn around and repeat file or serial file if not approved.
When have we seen a zone map change here?
any rezoning, Heather, is what that refers to. Anybody coming in seeking a rezoning of a property from B1 to
any of
B3.
the projects.
Yeah.
Can I go to 41, for example, just north of Goodfellas?
Yeah, I'm fine with the 12 months.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll leave that in then. I'll make sure I get rid of that crossed out language. That was,
Rick, catch the second word on,
Focuses.
proposes, should be proposals.
and the paragraph below it,
Yeah,
proposals. Okay.
additionally.
Okay. I believe that's all I had in that section, and I did not have any proposed changes for chapter 22.
Did you consider removing the word study and put review on section D, procedure?
In, where are we at, Dave? Back in
Bottom of page 40.
in 20? Okay. Shall review such proposals instead of study?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
And in section F, the town council shall review the recommendation, the certification, because the certification is the, town council gets certification of the planning commission. I'm sure they're guided by your advice also, but
Shall review the certification of the planning commission?
yes. Kind of tracks the language in 608.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Now, do we have somewhere else that the, any action of the planning commission is by a majority of the quorum?
In the rules and regs.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
As long as it's connected, so
Mhm.
it means 4 of you need to approve anything.
Right. It's not a majority of those present, it's a majority of the entire membership that has to make a decision. Anything short of 4, you can't make a decision.
Right.
That's the same way with the town council.
Yep.
President can't make a decision just because they're president, you gotta have 4 people. And you gotta have 4 people in a meeting in order to have the meeting.
Okay, do, anybody have any other questions about the packet with chapter 15 as page 1? Okay. To the legacy lot overlay 6.7. You've updated some of these
Yes.
already?
And what I tried to do, Jerry, is just track the bulk standards that are in the other zoning districts. So these have the same minimum lot size, width, front yard setback, rear yards. It addresses all of those same bulk standards that you see in any of the other zoning districts.
Yeah.
And,
When we have something like minimum side yard setback of 5 feet. Is it just understood that there can be no condensing unit there? I mean, the definition of a side yard is full 5 feet. Do we need some detail with that?
Yeah, I believe that's the foundation. That's the way we have it in our definitions of the zoning ordinance. It's measured to the foundation of the building, so, and that doesn't include eaves, gutters,
Yeah.
fireplace chases, those kinds of things. It's not a setback to those points, it's to the foundation of the building. So,
I guess when we're already dealing with 5 feet, we have to be real careful what we're.
you could have a generator there that takes 3 feet.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
And one of the reasons we try to keep those side yards like that, especially in these legacy lots, are for some kind of a emergency access.
Like a fire.
Whether it be running from a fire or a stretcher, yeah.
mhm.
Is there some language that could be 5 foot, clear to foundation, or?
Well, and is that what you want to do? Because we're talking about lots that are as narrow as 30 feet here. In the second paragraph, Jerry, that's,
Oh, sorry,
yeah, that, our item 2 there,
yeah,
that addresses those lots that we have that are 30 by 80 foot lots right now that are existing, and they have houses on them.
We have a house on a 25-foot lot in this
Do we?
town.
Yeah, yeah. So it's trying to show some sensitivity to those without running them through a lot of red tape to improve their properties. And yet, you're right, we have to be concerned with safety, because you could have 2 window air conditioning units, and you've got a tight squeeze between properties. But
and those are at the wrong height.
yeah.
Very much so.
That's right, that's right. So, but the way this is written here is it would be, I mean, because of the way we define our setbacks in the regular, in the zoning ordinance, that is a setback to the foundation of the house. That wouldn't include anything else. So if you want more than 5 feet, then we have to set that at 7 or 8 feet or something.
But like you said, these are already,
They are.
they're already a problem, and, well, if they're occupied.
Rick, this
See,
is
the-
vacant.
No, the first one does, Chuck, yes. The one below it, number 2.
Section, yeah, Rick jumped to section 2.
Well, what about if we can change it at least on the vacant ones?
You could, if you want, because on a vacant one, you
That's
have
what
to
I'm
be at
getting at.
least, you have to have at least a 50-foot wide lot. On the occupied, I'm proposing that you go as low as 30, because we already have them as low as 30. But if you're in that subdivision where they're 30 by 80-foot lots and one is vacant, you wouldn't be able to build on it if it was less than 50 feet wide.
Jerry, what if you added where 5 feet on one side and 8 on the other? That way you'd have one side that would have, can you be that
Maybe
specific?
we could do that. I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, actually, Heather, what you can do in that case, and we've got it, I think, somewhere else in the zoning ordinance, but you can say that minimum 5-foot setback on any given side and no less than 13 feet cumulatively in side yard setback.
Yeah,
So that would achieve your 8 foot on one and 5 on the other. Now, yes, because you would say minimum of 5 feet on one side, and cumulatively, you'd have to have at least 13 feet, so that would give you 5 and 8.
yeah.
Or you could do 6 and 7.
Yes, as long as you weren't less than 5 feet on
Right.
either
I
side.
like that.
And not more than 13.
I think that's a really good idea, and I'm thinking of a side yard that's, if you have 8 feet, well, you said cumulative.
Total
I mean,
between the
you-
two
You could
sides.
almost park next to the house in 8 feet. You know, if you want a little more, if you want, no, I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah, I know.
Well, in that case, do you wanna specify your HVAC systems and generators being the bigger side yard? If there is bigger?
well, if you put them on the bigger side and somebody drives into them, that's just them.
Well, I'm just saying, then at least you're guaranteed, you know, that at least it's in your biggest side yard, not your tiniest one.
Either way,
Or
though,
maybe you
still
want
have-
your biggest one open, I don't know.
Yeah, either way, you still have 5 feet of access on one side or the other.
Yeah. I don't think that's a bad idea. Does anybody see any boomerangs with this?
No, I like Heather's idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll apply to the vacant lots, correct? So
Yeah.
minimum, let's see, minimum interior side yard setback 5 feet, minimum on a corner lot is 20 anyway. But I'll add the note that total interior side yard has to be equal 13 feet and be at least 13 feet.
Yeah.
You could add a subparagraph for that, Rick.
Right. And Ashley's taking better notes than I am, so she'll keep me honest over here. All right, very good. I like that suggestion too.
Since we're in these legacy lots, occupied legacy residential lots, the developmental standards that we haven't quite talked about yet, that Don always suggests on his reports be waived. Jill had told me that we have a neighboring community who does a 80%,
Yes.
fee in lieu of, or a master plan contribution.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's got a legacy lot and there's already a house there and they want to redo it or whatever they're gonna do, if they don't want to put a sidewalk in because there's just probably not functional or not enough room, they would be offered the ability to contribute to the sidewalk master plan at 80% of that value.
I like it.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but since we're talking about this, this isn't the place to discuss this right now, is it?
Probably not.
Okay.
It'll get way
Okay.
too far afield, I think.
I just kind of throwing it out there for everybody to kind of play a little bit. Okay. Section 3, you have some, plat on a lot, there's not a lot of record is demolished.
Yes, that's important.
A lot.
We need to discuss that, because, Dave, what this is trying to do is allow people to put additions onto their properties without platting them in these legacy lots. So,
Is that consistent with the combination of lots so that we had a minimum of 5,000 feet for consideration of issuance of a building permit?
yes, I believe so, Dave. They've still got to meet those.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's a good way to go about this.
Okay. Yeah, it's,
You're dealing with known quantity at that point.
right.
What is the actual definition of legacy lot, though? A certain square footage, below a certain square footage,
Well,
At the top.
any lot?
Minimum size.
5,000, just like in the ordinance now.
So,
Doesn't section 8 define, isn't that your definition?
right there at the top there, is that what you're talking about? Not really, but Dave's right. We had, in our non-conforming, chapter 17, I think it is, our non-conforming, it talks about, the minimum lot sizes that you can build on a pre-existing lot, and it's typically 50 foot wide and at least 5,000 square feet.
Would it be helpful to have that definition here, though?
so the dust parcel, he wouldn't have had to subdivide
Right.
in this case.
Right. Yes, Don. Let's take a look at that. Yes, it's on page 7 of the hard copy. Now, this says recorded lots less than minimum area. Lots of record at the time of the enactment of this ordinance which have less than the minimum area requirements for residential zoning districts may nevertheless be used for any use permitted therein, except that for dwellings, the lot must have a width of at least 50 feet and an area of 5,000 square feet.
That matches what's in the existing
Yeah,
ordinance.
right, yeah, that's right.
But if someone was, just to look for a simple definition, where would you find that? Because if this is, right here, it says lots, it doesn't say legacy lots here.
You probably wouldn't have it. You probably wouldn't find it in definitions. It's in the exception section under legacy lots.
And I think that's what Heather's asking, is can we make that more clear in 6.7, right?
Right, like how do you attach 6.7 to number 4 under section H?
Right. So we can make it clear that the definition of a legacy lot is, well, it's actually either of these. A legacy lot, yes, yes, residential legacy lots, the vacant residential legacy lot must be, yeah, it's already here, it's in A and B. Has to be at least 5,000 square feet if it's vacant, and 50 feet wide. If it's occupied legacy lot, then it has to be at least 2,400 square feet and 30 feet in width. That's what this already says.
But am I interpreting this right? If you tear down an existing legacy lot, let's say between 30 feet and 50 feet lot width, you can't rebuild on that lot then technically, can you? Without getting a variance?
I think
That
that's
was
what
the better variance.
Yeah, you would be forcing that into a variance between 30 and 50. You're saying your minimum
Here,
vacant buildable.
Subject to the amortization.
If a primary building on a lot that is not a lot of record is demolished with the intent to rebuild it on the lot first must become a lot of record and must meet the bulk standards in section B1 above.
But say you have a house on a 40-foot wide lot, and you want to build a new house on it, and you demolish it, it no longer meets the 50-foot wide frontage, so you couldn't build a new house on it. So you'd be forced to, you couldn't build a new house on it, right?
If it's a
Without,
lot of
unless you had a
record.
variance. Am I interpreting that right?
But if
There's
it's
like
a
a
lot,
gap.
if it's a lot of record, you could, couldn't you?
You
Because
couldn't
it
make
says
it a
if
legal
it's
lot of
not-
record because it wouldn't
Can be
meet.
rebuilt.
Pardon?
A lot of record can be rebuilt.
What I'm trying
Yeah.
to do, and I hope I did this, what I'm trying to do is make it possible for somebody who's on a legacy lot, whether it's 30 feet wide or 50 feet wide or anything in between, Don, be able to tear down a house and rebuild it, without a variance, but it
And without
would
a plan.
have to become a lot of record.
But you say it must become a legal lot of record and must meet bulk standards in B1. B1 requires the minimum lot width of 50.
Of 50.
So say you have a 40-foot legacy lot, and they want to tear it down and build a new house, they wouldn't meet the bulk standards, they'd have to get variance.
And
Well-
Dave says we got one at 25 feet?
Unless we amend that to say in sections B1
And B2.
That's really what I want to do, because I want
Yeah.
to try to eliminate the hardship. We all know we've got some of these smaller homes on the smaller lots that really could use a tear down and a rebuild. It works in everybody's best interest to do that and to make it easier to do that, than to go through a lot of red tape. And that's what I'm trying to do is make it possible for people to improve these homes that need the improvements
Yeah,
without going through.
but I'm gonna say what you two said earlier, now we're
We're
making-
legislating the exception?
Yeah, we're legislating the exceptions.
No,
Well,
not really, because if.
There's
if
a lot of
you
lots
have-
that are below 50 feet.
We do,
Yeah,
yeah.
but if
So
you,
go ahead, John, sorry.
if you have an existing house that's 30-foot wide, say, or say 40-foot wide,
Yeah,
okay, and you tear it down, what you wanna say in there is that you can rebuild it to B2.
B1 or 2, yes, yes.
No, not 1 or 2, to 2, because B1 won't work because it's greater than 40.
Can you change the can you change B1 to 30? So they both say 30? Or do you not
I
want?
like them the way they're set up. I think you just have to refer to B2, and that is because it's,
Well, if you,
you know-
yeah, well, I see what you're saying, because if it applies to B2, it'll apply to B1.
yeah.
But B1 specifically says vacant and 2 says occupied, so not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah, that's.
You know,
yeah.
part of the minimum here is an effort, I think it is, we've talked about it a lot over the years here, an effort to provide quality minimum area, size, notwithstanding the conditions that we have in the old platted areas of our community, so that we are not encouraging while we're not preventing. Not encouraging undersized lot redevelopment, but we're also setting a bar where we're not preventing.
Well, if that's the case, I think it's written correctly then. If you're saying that an occupied structure on very small lots, 30 feet, you can still live in them, but if you go to a vacant lot, you're saying that you do not want anybody to construct on a vacant lot that's less than 50 feet. That's kind of the way it's written.
That's
right
true.
now.
And that's.
And if that's what you wanna do, it's
an
an-
objective.
Yeah,
That's a
if
policy.
that's your
call.
objective, it's a policy call.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Just saying you
Yeah.
may have with very small lots, you may have variances that are more, they may occur more than you think.
Well,
Especially with lakefront tiny lots.
I'm thinking of the pie-shaped lots, back by 139th and everything like that. I mean, they might have 40 feet of frontage, but at the back of their lot, what does it go back to? 20 feet?
Doesn't matter.
Not even.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
so
even.
how do they build a house?
Well, they still have to meet setbacks, they have to meet the 5-foot side yard setbacks or 8 feet, 13 total, depending on which one of these they qualify in.
Well, they might be able to do that, but they're not gonna be able to have a 12 square foot house with a garage at that point.
The building setback line, Heather, determines where the lot width is measured. So if they happen to be pie-shaped where they're wider at the street and very narrow at the back, they're gonna be fine. It's the opposite, where if they're if they're very narrow at the front and they widen out as they go back, they're gonna have to go back further on that lot to get to where they have a 50-foot wide lot. So that could be,
We're not gonna prevent,
No, there's a lot of exceptions here.
I mean, we're not gonna
There's a lot of
prevent variances and the need for the BZA.
no.
We're trying to find a standard that works for you from your policy perspective.
The vacant lot, not less than 50, I think is a great number. I think we have to live with that.
Rick, with our little GS exercise, did we identify how many singular lots there are that are below 50
You
feet?
did, yeah, I don't remember the number, but yeah, you identified the 30-foot wides and the 50-foot wides, and there were, like you said a few minutes ago, there was quite a number of those.
What's quite a number?
I don't remember off
50?
the top of my head.
More
No,
than that.
100?
a couple hundred.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
out
that's
of,
what I-
out of curiosity, then what happens to the person who purchased a lot that's too small, according to
Variance.
now?
Proposed variance. Which is, right now, we're forcing them into the variance, but we're liberalizing this and giving people greater opportunity to redevelop some properties, I think, making it less cumbersome to do that. But they still, Heather, would be able to do it with a variance, they could still come to BCA.
Got it, okay, thank you. I like it.
If they, for example, across the way over here, somebody tore the house down before they did what they did, before they got approvals for things. It's big enough to build on, but it needs to be cleaned up legally. And I think that's the goal here with all this, is getting it cleaned up on paper, most importantly.
Yeah,
I mean, the BZA stuff will always be the BZA stuff.
Mhm.
That's what we have. From the lake, you can see that, people get creative, especially going up. So, okay, Rick, I had one question, page 7, section G, number 2. That still has to be, just because there's two owners, those two pieces of property will still have to be combined to build across both of them, don't they?
are you talking about G2 or H2? I don't have
G2.
H2.
No, it's gotta be H, Jerry.
I don't have a G, yeah, H.
I'm sorry, it is H, sorry,
Okay.
sorry. Explain that real quick while we have a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's in the, Dave, that's in the legal non-conforming section of the ordinance.
I have it.
So that is saying that where those two lots, they're vacant lots, and they've been duly recorded, right? Yes, okay.
So if you have two 25-foot lots,
Would you,
Yeah, these
And
are
the same-
recognized lots of record.
can you force them to combine the pins to make it one lot, at least?
that's
Countywide?
what
Is that
I'm
what you're
getting,
getting
because not cleaning that up just is another is another mess.
It is.
Or they build on one of them and not on the other one.
You're right.
Or they build a garage on the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they wanna put a house on that one also.
What's happening in my neighborhood?
There you go.
There's a garage waiting for a house,
Yep.
if you will. Yeah, they should combine it, 'cause, I mean, the pin
Yeah.
should be combined, should be single, at least recognized
Yeah.
lot. It has a single address.
Yeah.
It might have two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have two.
Would you,
Yeah, maybe.
kinda look that over and
Stuff
kick that one around a little bit?
Boxes.
Yeah.
That's good, Jerry. Yeah.
You think you clear that up pretty easily with the county, they do it all the time around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick, can we go back to, page 42 a second? I don't wanna forget this before we, the adoption language, section A, 22, section A, needs to be cleaned up with code sites, they're not right.
Can you get me those, Dave, so I can?
Yeah, I can, if you'll note those, so,
Both of those are wrong?
both, on A, they're both wrong. This would be under the 600 series,
Okay.
and, I don't think, I mean, town's organized under other statutory sections, Title I, Title III. And also in section B, we want to make certain we include, zoning ordinance, 496. 278 was replaced by 496.
Does that language not do that? 278, all amendments there too? Or
Well, I'd like to specifically recognize 496.
instead of
Well-
278, or?
Yeah, that was repealed
That was
by
repealed, okay.
496.
All right. Got it.
And section D, the zoning ordinance will take effect upon adoption by the town council.
Got it.
In fact, you can take out the first side of section A, I just remove it and put, municipal corporation duly organized under the laws of the state of Indiana. It doesn't need a site, it's self-explanatory. I don't wanna forget those.
Okay.
Okay, folks, well, it's 7 o'clock.
Jerry,
Yeah.
Rick, how close are we?
Well, I think it's optimistic to think we could have a public hearing on this before January. I think we're gonna need 2 more work sessions.
Can we just schedule a meeting and come here on a different date and just get it done?
Well, that's what I said 8 months ago, and no one wanted to do that. I wanted to do it on a Saturday, couple of Saturdays, and just blow through this and get it done, but that didn't meet with any,
I'd rather just get it done, that way we can start the year fresh with it. My personal opinion.
Is that the only day left in the week?
No, I mean, you might pick another night that is meeting free, we can maybe do that. If you want me to send out an email tomorrow to all of you, ask you to check your schedules and see if we can come up with a night that is.
Why don't you find a meeting free time and let us try to do it? I didn't think there were really any of those left.
It really feels like we're close.
Yeah,
It's not many, Jerry, you're right. This time of year.
Light at the end of the tunnel is there.
yeah, and I know you wanted to revisit the sign ordinance section of this, so we'll do that. We need to do that yet. Yeah, I thought if we followed what we're doing now, I thought it would take at least 2 more work sessions and then schedule a public hearing for January before the plan commission and get it to the council at their first meeting in February, I'd say. But if we do what Heather suggested, maybe we can move that up a little bit.
It'd be good to start 2022 with a new ordinance.
With the new ordinance, yeah.
Kind of refresh everything. Maybe not, but let's try.
Does anybody No, well, no, let's just leave it at that. I'll send an email out tomorrow.
It might be harder for you to pick a date and time than it is for us.
Should be some Mondays,
You're about
right?
to engage in cat herding. I'm sorry.
I'm good as long as it's not golf season.
I think we're out of that, John.
John, you're not ice fishing?
And there's some cats
I have
up here.
3 Mondays in a month with meetings.
Oh, well, there goes two, or I guess there goes one.
Monday's RDC, but it's every other Monday, right?
Third.
Third Monday
Every
of every
third Monday,
month.
okay, that frees up 3 Mondays.
But I have, Randy has a Republican meeting on the first Monday, and I have a Summerfest meeting on the fourth Monday.
Actually, would you make sure Bob gets the notes on the night Bob's not here?
So we're down to the second Monday in December for Bob.
We'll
That's all
find
you have?
something, gang.
We could do it on Sunday during the Bears game. Nobody wanna watch that.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
All right.
Are we cruel?
Sure.
We go lighthouse.
Yeah. Rick, how about upstairs at the lighthouse? Saturday at 4.
I could make that.
I scheduled the street up too.
Check with George.
Looky here.
on
Okay. You good, counsel?
I'm good.
Okay.
I tell you.
All right, that, work session for review is over. I would like to, I'd like to call this, Town of Cedar Lake Planning Commission meeting to order, November 3rd, 2021. Special public meeting and work session to follow. Would everyone stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Carnahan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan?
Here.
Mr. Foreman is absent. Mr. Sharp?
Here.
Mr. Sauer?
Present.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Corra?
Present.
Mr. Wilkening?
Here.
Mr. Oliphant?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mr. Everly?
Present.
Ms. Murray is absent. Ms. Abernathy present.
Thank you very much. We're gonna open with the special public meeting, for the, Brown property, 14917 Moore Street. This is a preliminary plat for one lot subdivision. Good evening. Good evening, address for the record, please.
Ryan Brown, I'm requesting a one-lot subdivision.
Okay. In the packet, there is the document was here, but it didn't get in the packet regarding the 50 by 50 quitclaim deed property. It was associated with Mr. Brown's, yeah, you get come over here.
Oh, good, a single piece of paper?
That could, actually, it's right here, if anybody look at it. It wasn't in the packet.
Quitclaim deed? You don't have this?
The quick thing deed.
Oh, it's in here.
Oh, it's in that one, okay, all right, yeah. It didn't get in the electronic packet.
Because it was just approved last night.
Yeah, because it was approved last night, but it was here, ready to go, there was nothing late about any of it. And it had to be approved. So, I guess, does anyone have any questions about any of this?
I do not.
No, I do not.
Okay. Exhibit A is circled here. Is that for any particular reason, Mr. Everly? What is it circled?
Here.
This has got,
Oh, that was, I believe that was, Stuart's response, Don, to your question about why there were multiple setbacks shown on sides of the lot. And he
In
was
aggregate
quoting
and
the
minimum.
minimum side yard setback and the 25, or 20, 10
Percent.
or 20% setback,
Yeah, 20%.
20% setback. So that was the reason why he was showing different side yard setbacks.
okay. Don, hang on. Don, you have a review letter for this.
Our previous one's still included in the packet from the 12th.
Okay.
But we had asked Stuart, pending, actual recordation, signing of the quick claim deed, that he prepare it based on that assumption that was going to go through. So we got something on Friday, and we're fine. We still have our initial engineering waiver recommendations, and then, just clarifying the side yard setbacks for the eventual plat. So, but they're minor.
Okay.
I just kinda had a question
Yeah.
for you. I didn't get copied on that back and forth, so the side, I was wondering about the side yard for depth to the north. Now, I only need that 8-foot minimum for the side depth north and south, like, that is the extra line that we kinda have on our side there, right? Which could be cleared in the final plat.
Well, how do you interpret that, Rick? Is it the 8-foot or is it the 20% aggregate? I thought it was the 20%, but
Well, this goes to what Heather had brought up in the previous meeting, that there is a aggregate, or a total, side yard setback requirement of, not less than 20% of the lot width. So one side has to be 8 feet,
Yeah.
as long as, and then there's a 20% aggregate, so the other the other side yard's gonna have to be huge to be
Yeah.
8.
Well,
Yeah.
well, and then the way I interpret it, so it'd be if I was gonna put a barn there and it was on the, encroaching the side yard on this side, it could not on the other side, right? So if you could build 8 feet and then,
well, if it was 20%, so the way he's showing right now, I think it's on the widest part of your lot, it's like 40, if I can do that, 43 feet. So that would be a total of close to, 86 feet. And if you did 8 foot on one, that means your other side yard would have to be like 78.
72 feet, yeah.
Yeah, 72 feet, yeah.
But
So you
that
have to
doesn't-
make it up.
But, Mr. Brown, that does not impact an accessory structure. Those setbacks are for the primary structure,
okay,
so not to
Sorry,
a shed or
yes.
or,
Yeah.
right.
So
a
it may
garage,
just be-
barn, shed
Right.
would not, okay.
It may just be easier to have it, if it doesn't impact anything for your main structure, it may just be easier to keep them equal.
Yes.
The way he's showing it right now, get rid of the 8 foot minimum and be done with it.
Okay. Okay, all right,
So
thank you.
that's the way I would interpret it.
Yeah.
So he's showing it right, we just need to take off the 8 foot. So it's right.
You have, no other concerns?
Nope, pending that quick claim deed goes through, it cleans up the frontage quite a bit.
Okay. That seems to be ready to go, correct, counsel?
All in order.
All right, Mr. Everly? Anything else here that,
No, sir, I believe
any other
Mr. Brown,
discussions?
we're ready to go forward with this one, Mr. President.
Okay. This, exhibit B at the top says, 50 by 50, toll to Dudley.
This is
TOCL, Town of Cedar Lake to Dudley.
Oh, Town of Cedar Lake to Dudley, okay, right.
kind of a history.
Yep, okay. Well, that's why I brought the Dudley word, is what, piqued my curiosity,
That is history.
so. Heather, any questions?
No, sir.
No, Chuck?
No.
Mr. Kapora?
No,
I have nothing, nobody has anything? Okay, I guess, as long as everything's ready to go, Friday by noon, before the meeting.
Thank you, everyone,
So,
appreciate it.
this is a this is a special public meeting, voting.
Oh, that's right, sorry.
Special meeting.
Sorry, yeah, don't run off, sorry. Yeah, my brain's still in work session mode. So there are no contingencies, Mr. Austin, correct?
Recordation of the quitclaim deed
Okay.
before the plat is.
And approval of waivers,
Well, let's talk about the waivers. We knew the sidewalk,
stormwater detention,
stormwater.
public frontage widening, park dedication, tree placement, and
Okay.
sidewalk.
Okay. Does, anybody have any questions about those waivers, for Don's letter? We did talk a little bit about, trees,
When you say sidewalk and trees,
sidewalk, trees, detention, and,
Park dedication.
Park dedication,
no question.
public way, widening. Okay. Chuck, any thoughts on trees?
Just have them in the front, in his front yard, not the parkway.
He's got more
There's not gonna be a
trees
parkway there anyway.
Yeah, there's like.
There's a lot of trees on a lot of
Right.
ways.
Is,
Yeah.
I
I'm just saying.
I shouldn't have thrown that out there.
Yeah.
So,
Never thought I'd own so many trees.
Yeah. He's got a forest.
so everybody's good with Don's waivers?
Yes.
Okay. So the recordation of the quitclaim deed and, Don suggested, waivers. If anybody would like to make a motion with those things in mind, I'd love to hear it.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat pending the recordation of the quitclaim deed, and that includes the waivers from Don's letter, dated 10/12/21.
Mr. Rauschen, you good with that?
Were there any other, technical requirements in Don's letter?
Not that hasn't been met,
Okay.
that's what they've submitted.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Motion by Heather, second by Mr. Sharp. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mrs. Sauer?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Pecora?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good night.
Now
Thank
you
you.
can be done.
Yeah.
Now you can get out.
Now you can leave. Okay, this concludes the special public meeting for Mr. Brown, 14917 Morris. We're gonna move on to, the work session now. Beacon Point, Unit 6, 7, and 8, preliminary plat. Petitioners requesting preliminary plat for Beacon Point, Unit 6, 7, and 8.
Jack, you got it upside down?
I'm sorry. Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development. I apologize, I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, and I was at a St. John meeting that night, but Jack Hulls was here representing us, and we had advertised for the public hearing that night. I believe the public hearing was opened. I don't think there were any remonstrators here at that meeting. And I don't know exactly if we were deferred or continued or what the status is right now, but I know there was some questions about the park dedication, and I wanted to come tonight to see if we could clear up some of those questions and maybe provide some additional clarification on the park dedication for Beacon 6, 7, and 8. So 6, 7, and 8 are the remaining section in the center of Beacon Point West, all single-family lots, and we're requesting preliminary plat approval for 6, 7, and 8, which will be the final 3 sections. We'll provide the continuation of Beacon Point Lane all the way through to King Drive and out to the new stoplight at 133rd. The parkland is centrally located in the middle of the project. Part of the parkland has already been platted with the Altoff development. The remaining piece of parkland will be platted with our development of either 6 or 7 as we go forward. By our calculations, and I don't give, maybe Rick's handing it out now, that might be my calculation sheet. Using the town ordinance calculation for park dedication, based on population and percentages, It comes up to a requested dedication of 4.42 acres. Our preference is to give a portion of land and a portion of money to do some improvements to that piece of land. So we have a 2-acre usable, it's a little bit bigger than 2 acres, but there's 2 acres of full usable land in the center of the project that will be dedicated as the park. And then we have calculated an additional $60,000 that we want to spend on improvements to that area. And I believe some of this was talked about previously, but we are going to offer to install a sidewalk from the end of Utopia Street around these lots along the parkland and out to King Drive. And then we are also going to provide a sidewalk from King Drive over to Freedom Way to connect the 2 sides of the development. So that will be nice in terms of connectivity and allowing all of the residents to, including Utopia, to be able to use King Drive and ultimately get up to the school and the traffic signal there. So we would like to spend that money on that land. In addition, obviously the land will have streets and sewers and water main along the frontage, in addition to sidewalks along the frontage, the 2 frontages of the park, because it will front on both King Street and on Freedom Way. So we will install those sidewalks. That will be at our cost. The sidewalks here that we're wanting to put in are additional sidewalks through the park and over to Utopia. And so we broke that down a little bit further. Jack just had asked me to clarify cost per square foot on sidewalk and how we're going to spend the money. So I think you have that now.
Yes, we do.
And then if there's any questions or clarification I could give on that, I'll do that at this time. Or if there's any other questions beyond the park.
Well, I think what I remember from a couple of weeks ago was that we had discussed sidewalk, the value, some calculations. Don, you've never seen this document, these 2 pages?
I got it this afternoon.
Okay. And your thoughts are?
I mean, as long as the lengths are right, I think the unit cost is reasonable, with $6 a square foot.
Okay.
I just didn't do the math of what the actual square footage are.
Those numbers
I'm
were
assuming
provided to
it's
me by Jack Holes
Okay.
off of his CAD.
Okay,
So it's
so they should be right.
right on, yeah.
Okay, that's the sidewalk. There was railing discussed.
You've got a railing line item cost down there and miscellaneous cost. I don't know what that would cost. That's kind of the wild card probably.
Yeah, we're hoping to put it in, and I've walked that site, and I feel like we can safely have a sidewalk alongside that slope and have it be safe. But if we put it in and we decide, or the town decides at that point, hey, we think it would be safer with a guardrail or a
I mean,
fence.
the way we're showing it right now, we don't have any clear space. It literally just goes sidewalk down.
Yeah,
So
But
that's
it's-
why it's recommended.
it's not like
Yeah,
a cliff.
but a wheelchair wouldn't stop.
6'5" guy would say that. Maybe a 4-foot guy would.
It's a gentle slope off the edge of the sidewalk, but again, we're not opposed to some sort of barrier there. We'll spend the money on it, and if we don't, then we'll spend it on something else. We're committed to spending the $60,500 on that park, on that land.
And this 2.42 acres is not buildable.
That's just their fee and lieu. So they're providing.
That's not my question.
What?
2.42 acres that they're valuing at $25,000 per acre.
Are you talking about the value number?
The 2.42 acres that they're proposing here as a value, is that buildable land?
In what context, I guess?
Can you build a house there? Could they put houses on that property?
2.42 acres? It's just that's what they're not providing as form of dedication.
It's not actual land.
It's not actual
It's a
land.
hypothetical number, I guess.
It's the pro forma out of the ordinance.
So they need
Based on
roughly
ordinance.
4.4 and some change. They're providing roughly 2 between outlots B and E.
Yeah, so
And
they're not
the 2.4
identifying 2.42 acres within their parcel
Yeah.
for, like Dave or Don said, it's just a hypothetical. That's the number that they would have to give based on the formula of,
Except, I'm gonna go back to this as I always do, we have two formulas, one's on one extreme, one's on the other.
But you're talking about cost now. The 2.42, there's no debate to that, that's one formula. There is one formula for park dedication. It's based on density
Right.
of what they're constructing. So it's a 70-30 break on 4-bedroom and 3-bedroom homes. That gets you to the 4.42 number you're showing here. That's not up for debate.
Right.
That number is set in stone. It's how you interpret the fee in lieu of portion of the ordinance.
Right. And Jack shows that on the second page.
Yeah, I would say the second page is not applicable. That's for sites that are small enough that are too small to provide the park dedication minimum, which is 1.75 acres. This is not a small enough parcel to provide that.
Right, but that calculation has been used on other developments. The $450 per lot is, you know, obviously, like you said, that's the other extreme. The 169 lots times 450 a lot, I don't remember what the number was $70,000.
Yeah.
That would be if we provided no land. If we were just gonna do a fee in lieu of any land.
No, it's for the entirety,
It would
based
be-
on that count.
Yeah, so that would be much cheaper for us to do that
Yeah.
route and not provide any parkland. We could get an additional 5 lots on this piece of park, but we feel that a park is beneficial to this development. It's a neighborhood park. We wanna have a park, and we wanna have a park that is developed, that's not just a slab of dirt out there, so,
What does that park look like? Have we seen that?
it's just flat grass,
That's what
Yeah.
that's your plan?
yeah. I mean, for now,
It's not a
ultimately.
detention pond, it's not a retention pond, it's,
No, there is, along the edge of it, there's a channel, but we didn't include any of that in this calculation. So the land is actually probably closer to 3 acres. And that's open space, but we're saying there's a net 2 acres flat usable grassland that is completely
That you're
usable.
donating.
Yes.
And then we can take the $60,000 and put it in there with maybe some sort of benches and stuff.
well, and I understand what you're saying, but we're back to, the two formulas. And, you know, as Don just said, depends on our interpretation.
I don't think the second one's applicable. The way it reads, it may have been enforced in the past like that, but the way it reads, it says that you cannot provide the minimum, that you can go off the scale. I don't think there's anything that restricts a development this size to provide a minimum size, and they are providing a minimum size technically. I mean, they're providing what do we say? 2.42. They're providing two.
Two usable.
So, I mean, that's more than the 1.75, so I think that takes that
Yeah.
calculation off the book straight out. But then you get into the gray area of the other formula of fair market value of improved land, which is really open for interpretation.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Fair market value of what, unimproved?
Improved,
Improved,
is the way it reads.
yeah, that's worth 25,000 an acre.
Right. I wouldn't say improved as a form of you're going to build a house on it. I think improved as parkland goes, because I think it is unfair when you say improved, I think, and you're assuming you're gonna build a house on it. Because, yeah, I mean, that's $40,000-$50,000 a lot. It's
Yeah,
a lot.
and ultimately,
So you're interpreting as with assumptions. Improved and unimproved are approved and unimproved.
Based on other municipalities around here that have a similar clause, I mean, we've seen Lowell's, and they set it annually, is what we've seen. And it's not, $150,000 an acre, it's not. I'm not saying you have to follow theirs, but just for reference purposes, it's not that high.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I'm not really as concerned with Lowell as Don is. I am more concerned about what we've done here before, and I know that Jack knows what's happened here before. Maybe Rick has briefed on it. What have we done before? That's, at
my
this
last
point, we're
two
into custom
developments.
and
Yeah.
practice.
My last two developments, Lakeside, we had a extensive discussion on park at Lakeside. We ended up at 20,000 an acre, which was what we paid for the land. And Beacon Point Original, we ended up at 20,000 an acre, which was what we paid for the land. In this case, we paid 25,000 an acre for the land, and that's the number we've used. So that's what we've done in the past. we feel it's a fair number. I always remind us that at the bottom here also, the additional revenue to the Parks Department through permits for this development is an additional $205,000 going into the park through the park impact fee through permits. So that money can be spent here or other parks also, but
Jack,
there's a
just so you know,
substantial.
that number's gone up now to 1762.
Okay,
So it's even higher, another $550 a lot.
all right, so maybe 300,000.
That became effective July 26th or so of this year.
I'm going back to Beacon Point, where there was no park, and people in this room approved using the existing park. So now we've minimized the other two neighborhoods' park, and there was, I don't know how many acres of retail space for, you know, retail, I'm shooting from the hip here, $1.5 million worth of homes, retail. So that 50,000, 52,000, and use Potawatomi Park always kind of hurt me. Couldn't be at that meeting, and I couldn't vote for an airport, so.
Yeah.
Kiwanis, yeah.
Yeah,
What did I
and
say?
I remember there was a lot of discussion.
I'm sorry,
on that.
Kiwanis, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right.
And we ultimately, I believe we provided dollars and some improvements, some sidewalk to get to that park,
Yeah,
so.
the bridge,
Yeah.
the bridge and all that other stuff.
You did the sidewalk in front of it too.
I believe so.
There is a sidewalk
Good,
there.
but
Some- Oh, that was,
Safe routes.
Lakeside, we did the sidewalk,
good to
to,
know, because people are asking.
that was part of our park there. So,
Yeah, I know we have two formulas, and they're on the extreme each end, and I.
One is a
think-
formula, one is supposed to be an appraisal. The way they were.
We have two pieces of criteria, and I'd certainly like to think we could meet in the middle somewhere with this in some language.
And that's gonna be the goal when we revise the subdivision control order.
that would be wonderful.
Jared,
Yeah,
what's the second formula we're thinking of? I'm lost. I
Well,
get this.
there's two pieces of explain those two pieces of criteria.
One fee in lieu of criteria is an appraisal of fair market value of improved land. So it's not really a formula. The second one is a per lot cost of the development itself.
So if we don't have a definition of improved lot, Don says the assumption you're gonna put a park on it, not a house. Mine is the opposite. Improved is
Yeah, going by
improved.
that, I mean, that's gonna change every month.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not gonna speak for anybody, but this will be revised in the next subdivision ordinance, like iteration, soon, hopefully.
Yes.
And it will be a lot more clear.
That would be wonderful.
So if I may ask the council, if you don't mind,
yeah.
who's opposed to this, what, and why?
You mean the commission?
Yeah, sorry, whoever you people are.
Well, I'm one of those people, and I'm not
Well,
opposed
if you're asking
to, I'm not opposed to what's happening here or against accepting the funds and what have you. My argument's always been, from day one, is nobody can tell me how they figured this out. I've asked that, and I asked that, and I asked that, and nobody's come up with an answer. This is the closest I've came to an answer. Now, if I get an answer as to how this is figured out, I'm through talking, I'm ready to vote. But no one's given me the answer. Now, where does this $450 come from? $450 per lot is if your subdivision is not large enough to use another criteria.
In order to provide the acreage, yeah.
So what would it be other than $450? Huh?
Second page.
Oh. Yeah, that's another section of the ordinance is criteria for requiring a contribution in lieu of park sites. So they have a required contribution per lot, 1 to 15 lots, 250, 16 to 30, 350, 31 to 45, 400, and number of lots 46 and up would be 450 per lot.
Yeah, but isn't that if it's,
If you don't have any park, that's just a dollar number.
So, Jack, if you did a fee in lieu of,
Right.
for the whole entire, for this whole park,
Yeah.
what would you give us?
70,000.
Okay, and what you're offering is
2 acres.
2 acres of land,
Yep.
2 acres of parkland,
Yep.
and $60,500.
Right.
So that's what I'm missing, what's the problem with it?
The policy decision.
You just cut to the chase.
You just cut it.
I don't see the issue. He's giving us 2 acres of parkland and $60,000, or he could just give us $76,000. But we're getting the 2 acres of park, which we need a park right there.
Right. Now, just so you're clear, he's doing $60,000 worth of improvement.
To that
To
park.
the park.
Well, to
Yeah.
the, yeah,
Yeah, to the area,
to
yeah,
the area
yeah.
and 2 acres of parkland,
And
so
you're,
yeah.
most importantly, you're doing sidewalks, correct?
So, yeah, in addition to the, I'm not even counting the sidewalks that are along the roads, that's a given, we're doing that. The cost for us of this land is in the roads and the sewers that go in front of this land on both sides, that, those are costs that we have to absorb somewhere else. That, obviously, it'd be wonderful if we could get 5 more lots in there, but, so we're improving the land with sewer and water and roads and sidewalks, and then in addition to that, we're going to add connectivity throughout the development by using these funds. You know, and we've debated this before, and we could write a check for $60,000 to the Parks Department, but I really don't wanna see it get used in another park. That's why I'm offering to spend it here. I wanna see it used on this land.
Now, I would like to see it used there too.
Yeah.
I just wanna know how to treat this now and in the future. And if $450 per lot is the number we use, then somebody tell me that's the number we use, and we can move on.
But what he's saying is he's giving us more value than we would get if we just took the $450 a lot. We're getting greater value with what Heather just
To
described.
answer your question, yes, that's true. The criteria is spelled out per lot. So his lot ratio of 169 falls under the 450.
A lot,
Yeah.
per
So
lot.
yes, that's our criteria.
I'm not arguing that point, I understand all that, but I just wanna know what number do we use in general in the future? Is it $450 per lot?
It
If
depends
they're
on-
not giving any parkland, it's
It's $450
It's
per lot?
$450 a lot for any development, 46 lots or greater.
Yes.
right?
Okay, that's all I wanna know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've got different definitions, when it goes back to what have you, because right here it says, you know, improved lots, fair market value, not lots, acreage, you know.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's one thing, this is from the subdivision ordinances, okay? I don't know what Jack read there, but that's in there also, so that kind of
Yeah.
is in contradiction to this.
It's tough. There's
So-
7 pages and the
So if it's tough for him to figure it out,
Yeah.
it's tough, even tougher for me, who's a layman, you know?
And we're gonna clear that up.
And John,
You also can't put value, his value on an acre is different than my value on an acre. Yes, you purchased that whole
Yeah.
thing, but you also have a ton of costs involved with that. It changes the value of what you have in comparison to if you were to go purchase an acre of land that was ready to go. I don't like that number, and it changes all the time.
well, I understand, and I'm as fed up with this as John is. But maybe we shouldn't have neighborhoods that don't have enough space for parkland. Maybe they have to have space for parkland. Who's taking care of this park? Who's mowing that grass?
That's a good question.
Because that invites a whole nother nightmare of.
We have an
Of legacy
HOA,
cost.
we have an HOA for the development, and it will be maintaining, our HOA will have crews out maintaining our entrances and the berms along Parish. We've done this in Lakeside, and I believe we would be willing to offer to have our HOA maintain this park, if that would be the town's preference.
Well, that would certainly, take care of the legacy costs.
I would probably prefer to, I think.
Yeah, I would
prefer- I would
but I think
prefer you
we'll probably
to
do a
also.
better job. So, I mean, we're gonna have guys out there mowing grass once a week anyway, so.
I think Village Outlet's private too, just across Freedom Way, like their gazebo and multi-path area, that's all private.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. When the development gets built out, we've got a well-funded HOA, and for us to mow that park once a week.
I guess is taking care of these parks, isn't that, at the town level, isn't that a significant legacy cost?
Sure,
sure it is.
But what I was gonna ask, Jack, is if you're gonna mow it, and thank you for that, it's still a public park, or?
Well, I guess that would be a good question, and maybe that's for Dave. If that's gonna be the case, and your ordinance spells out that we have to deed it to the town at some point, would it be better that we deed it and it's owned by the HOA, or would it still be better that it's owned by the town? I don't know. I don't know what the better answer is.
Liability issue?
Absolutely.
Liability would be the biggest thing, I think.
So have it owned by the HOA.
That's what I think.
I'm
But
I'm
still
fine with that,
publicly
as long as
accessible.
as long as the town's fine with that, and we would have to make that part of the approval, I guess.
Well, that's what I want, I'm hearing two different things here. Is it
Yeah.
going to be publicly accessible to anybody outside of that development if the HOA owns it? That,
It can be.
well,
It can be as part of the approval.
I guess that, we would want to be clear on that, because
Real
when
clear.
we're gone from this development and all the homeowners say, hey, we want to put up a sign that says, for Beacon Point residents only, because we own it, and,
if I were the HOA, I'd want to do it that way. But as a town, I think we're looking for publicly dedicated parkland.
It's like a public-private partnership.
Well, we are, but we're also looking for suitable size for an activity base.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
again, another policy call kind of.
And I can see people and their kids riding bikes from Centennial over to check out the new park.
yeah.
Well,
Sure.
also,
So-
but also, we're not talking about a
Centennial
purpose
or
and awesome
Utopia
equipment,
or
we're talking about a piece
yeah.
of grass. So,
Right.
I mean, maybe you might have
For
someone,
now, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, someday it may have a piece of equipment.
If it's a town park, someday the town might equip it.
Yes, there's a good chance of that.
But if
Depends
it's
on how
not-
many of those people fill this room.
I mean, that's why you get the park dedication, or the park impact.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can use that money anywhere, but you could use that money, you just, whatever that number was, $300,000, that'd be, put some real nice equipment in
Yeah.
a 2-acre park.
We actually just did a really nice piece of equipment in the preserve in St. John, installed with mulch and the plastic border and swings and slides, and it was about $50,000 total, bought, installed with mulch and everything else. So yeah, that would be nice to see that done there someday with some of that impact fee money. Now, again, then maybe it needs to be a public park.
And, in the case that you take Havenwood, which the HOA owns their park.
Yeah.
That is a private park, and they have signs that state that. They also replaced all the equipment in there, and this was several years back, to the tune of about, I think it was 43,000. So, yeah, you're right, the numbers climb up there. I would just as soon see it a public park as HOA owned. One of the reasons is, somebody brought up before, was that, what if the HOA just says, to heck with it, I'm not maintaining this anymore, let it go to seed? Then where are we? So I would think that for the cost of the town maintaining it and owning it, I think it should be a public park.
Can the town own it and not just mow it? Have the HOA mow it?
Yeah,
Or is that
that's
weird?
what I'm talking
I would
about.
like that if we could do that, Jack.
I would too, if
Yeah,
you're
you
comfortable
can,
with that.
Okay.
deal can be made.
That's just a contract,
Contract.
yeah. That's
I would probably prefer that too, that the town own it, we mow it,
Yeah.
and then someday the town could invest a piece of equipment there that,
Yeah,
and with the park.
I think that's the best of both worlds,
I think,
Yeah, I do too.
I'm feeling all warm and fuzzy about that.
Oh, your parkway trees, where are you gonna put those at? Where at the parkway, I mean, is it gonna,
Yeah, whatever the frontage is, I was gonna just spread them out,
No, what he's asking, Jack, is, earlier, we had a little discussion about trees.
Oh, okay.
Trees going in the yards on the house side of the sidewalk.
Okay,
Not in the.
that's right.
Not in the
Yeah.
parkway.
I
And,
forgot that,
I guess since the question arose, is that, too late to change now in this neighborhood? I mean, the trees aren't there, so.
no, I think they've been starting to enforce
I
that
think they're
already,
doing that
that
anyway.
they're telling the builders as they come in,
Okay.
no trees in the parkway. I believe that's what I've heard.
I think they're
So-
even allowing one in the front yard and one in the
Yeah,
rear yard.
and we would, I apologize, we would put the trees behind the sidewalk,
Yeah.
or maybe in the middle of the
they're
road.
overrated anyway. trees are overrated.
Well, considering where you live and I live,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
way overrated.
Yeah.
Why are all the golf courses removing all their trees? They were moving
Because they're overrated.
6,000, yeah, they're way
Because
over.
they're in the way.
Yeah,
Okay, Chuck, are you good with that,
absolutely.
okay, all right. I know you came in here with that on your mind.
And for the record, now that I've had this explained very thoroughly, so I still am confused, I'm okay with these numbers.
Thank you.
Mr. Austin, do you have to draft something up for some kind of contract for?
Probably, but let's get to approval stage
But-
first.
So, yeah, let's keep in mind, in 2 weeks, I'll be back, we're actually requesting primary plat for 6, 7, and 8, so we still gotta come back in, build them, and then come back in for final plat. And actually, the dedication of parkland as a condition of approval of final plat. So
Technically final plat.
we've got a little bit of time to get that worked out, but I think we're in agreement of what we want it to be.
Yeah.
Good.
And this number here, who's gonna find out about this railing for the retention pond along the north side of that area?
Jack Holden spot me on this, but I'm pretty
That's fine.
steadfast in the fact
It's
that
an
it should
ADA
be
then.
there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more, it's not even more for walkers, bicyclists or, kid or,
Well, you're saying it needs to be there, it needs to be there.
I think it needs to be there.
Well, and I can tell you, the majority of this stuff will be done with 6 and maybe 7. So by the time we get to 8, we'll know.
Yeah.
Everything will be done.
Okay.
By the time we get to the final plat of 8, we'll have the money spent and everything will be done, and we'll either have a railing or no railing.
It doesn't need to be a privacy fence, it just needs to be some kind of
Yeah,
railing.
protective barrier, yeah,
Like right by front of Hanover Square.
yeah.
Jack asked a couple questions in the beginning. Was this deferred, or was it a continuation of the public hearing from 2 weeks ago?
Can't answer without the minutes, I can't answer.
Was it deferred? Okay, well, yeah, either way.
Yes, Ashley?
It was deferred, you
Yeah.
deferred at the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was the public hearing?
Deferred it, and so the public hearing is continued?
You did hold the public meeting and close the public portion, you deferred the item.
This is super helpful, by the way, this, and going forward, I mean, it really makes it easy to understand
Yeah.
and see on paper, because, I mean,
Hopefully there'll not be a debate here in the next couple of months. Hopefully this is the last one we have
yeah,
to talk
I've heard
about.
that before. the
If
next
you
one.
can- if you can get that park ordinance portion down to like
We
one
have
page,
we have an
that would be
idea.
wonderful.
And this public-private partnership for maintenance, I think, is something that needs to stick.
Yeah, I like it,
Needs
I like it a
to
lot.
Yeah.
What did you say the park impact fee became?
$1,762 a lot.
Yeah, about 300,000 then, Jack.
I hate to say what John Foreman would say, but that's zip lines everywhere.
Gotta go up pretty steep.
Yeah, that takes you up to $297,778.
Of course it will.
You could zip line from the grocery store up to about what Jack could. You could.
I
300
He
grand.
quickly did the math, I didn't think calculator, so.
You did.
I did it in my head.
One of us will be
Yeah, sure.
back in 2 weeks
Well,
to
this-
continue the vote, to
Okay.
hopefully get the vote for that, and,
Believe it or not, I think this was quite productive.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that sidewalk going around there to get to 136, I think that was,
Wonderful.
that's
That's gonna
important.
be really good.
that's a good resolution to everybody getting to school.
Yeah.
All right, thank you
Does
very
anyone
much.
have anything else?
No, we're good.
Any other thoughts, comments?
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
All right. Item 2, Electric Power Solutions LLC Concept Plan. Owner John and Darlene Boersma, 11703 Upper Peninsula Drive, St. John, Indiana. Petitioner Electric Power Solutions LLC, P.O. Box 712, St. John, Indiana. Vicinity is 12828 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is presenting a concept plan. And this is for the property that was rezoned
Yes, sir.
on 41, west side of 41.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Name and address for the record, please.
Ryan Meredith, DBG team, 1155 Troutline Road, Crown Point.
Okay.
Jeff Weir's Electric Power Solutions, 9200 Field Street, number 712, St. John, Indiana.
Okay. Okay. concept plan.
I have, I don't know if you, I have hard copies.
I'll take the big drawing of that,
Okay, I'll take one as well, please.
the big picture.
My eyes are tired.
My first question is gonna be to Don.
Regarding?
Huh?
Regarding?
Wait for it.
You just can't imagine what it is.
He can imagine what it is. He can imagine what it is.
I'm gonna hedge my bet.
It's gonna be, something called, 2 words, Wicker Meadows. That's your clue, Don.
My questions as well.
So, I guess then, Ryan, since, you're the expert here, it looks to me like we're gonna need some kind of front yard, BZA approval for parking.
Correct, so we're on the agenda next week, we're requesting, 6 variances. Parking in front setback, 2 principal buildings, multiple tenants in each building, monument signage in the front, signage per building unit to exceed, and then, the natural buffer, in the rear yard to remain to, buffer the, proposed pond from the south, from the residences to the south.
Okay. Now, Don, that is a, part of a south to north floodplain, is it not?
Not floodplain, but a drainage issue, yes.
Drainage issue, okay. Are you aware of this drainage issue?
Yes,
Yeah, there was.
and I spoke with Don. He was nice enough to send me the Christopher Burke's big tributary area exhibit, so I was able to use that in my analysis to allow that. If you look on the plan, you'll see on the south edge, there's a squiggly arrow, and that's the flow rate that was calculated that will go through, and that's from that tributary area to the south. And currently, on the north side, directly north of that squiggly arrow, there are 5 end sections, and they go under the Ileana storage property to the north. And I believe those are
30, I think they're 36.
36,
They're
they're
big.
significant.
Okay,
So, yeah, we are aware of,
okay, because we don't need any more problems to the north.
yeah.
So the size of this pond will be, what, is it half acre, what is it?
Probably about a quarter acre,
Quarter
yeah.
acre? Is it gonna be extra deep? Is that the plan?
Not
No?
particularly, it will have a, just because of the size, it's gonna have a, basin, with an open graded stone to, for water quality purposes, but, the, flow through, the weir was sized, so the pond
Okay.
will handle the drainage of this lot, but it also, the weir was sized to account for that overflow of the off-site, flow.
All right. Mr. Everly, any
Sir.
thoughts immediately? You say good?
I said, sir.
Oh.
No, I haven't had a chance to talk with Don or Ryan for that matter specifically about the drainage, but, actually I defer to Don anyway about that, so.
Yeah. I guess I have to ask, how much higher do you have to raise that property?
Not much
Not
higher.
much?
Not really at all.
The natural slope is actually from the east to the west.
Yeah.
So, naturally, where the pond is, where we were putting it, in lieu of previous conceptual plans for this property, from the current owner, there was a pond proposed in the front of the property, which is really kind of reverse of how the land, naturally goes. I put in for some help, for some dirt work, very recently, haven't gotten anything back on that yet, but from what Ryan's given us, the slope of the property wouldn't really need to be changed a whole lot, because it naturally goes back towards that pond, and drops down in the footage back towards that drainage area.
And generally, the high point on this land, on this parcel, is where the buildings are, so like Jeff said, it does
Okay.
float at. Now, there was one slight challenge, where that, off-site, flow comes through, there's a small ditch that carries that. So that kind of, prohibited me from raising or lowering it too much, because we had to get the pipe network, to the pond. So the pond had to be, lower for the natural flow from, east to west, but also, to get under that, drainage swale.
Okay.
Could I ask what's to the north of this and what's to the south?
Yeah, to the north is, Ileana Storage.
Okay,
To the south is, I believe it's the Antique Storage.
Yeah, so
Okay, so I getting,
identical property length, with Ileana Storage to the north, all the way to the west boundary. And then there is, a couple of buildings, with the, resale shop down there. And then the last two pieces outlined, just south of the pond are residential properties there.
okay. Thank you.
So, does anyone have any questions on the commission?
What's the other business going in here?
Currently, we're just, gonna be building out for other contractor spaces, which is why we're going for a zoning ordinance to be able to have, multi-tenants. There is a current, aged warehouse in the back where the second building would be. The second building would be, a second addition after the first. We wouldn't probably propose to put both buildings at the same time, but, would really just, that's why we're looking for as much parking space as we can. We went way over the, recommended amount, just so we have plenty of parking, but we're not planning on any kind of retail, no restaurants, no anything like that. It's really just warehousing.
Got it, thank you.
And your business will be there too.
Yeah, our business would be the prime business
Yeah, I got
in
that.
the front, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm gonna ask council about. The zoning change was based on, him running his electrical business from there. Now I'm hearing this is gonna be a little industrial park, if you will.
It might require change.
Well, that's what I'm having that feeling now where this is a C&L vending mess right here with exactly what we're talking
Well,
about.
he's
Having
gonna have to
multiple
look for
businesses there.
uses that are allowed in the zoning district to which he rezoned, which was B3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever's in B3 would be allowed to be conducted in there. If it's something more intense than that needs industrial zoning, as David said, there could be a rezoning or a use variance request in their future. But if he's smart, he's gonna look for something that's B1, B2, or B3, and that he won't need to go through a rezoning or a use variance to locate that. And Ryan knows that.
We put all those things in those different zones so that they wouldn't have to come and,
Yeah.
get exceptions.
My point though is, the original presentation was based on B3, so he could use this business, so he could have his business. And now it's turning into a little multiplex of.
Well, that needed to be B3 though, correct, to clean that area up a little
For
bit?
not for his business, for his use,
Well-
he needed.
For his use, he did, but now it's turning into
Multiple use.
now it's turning into multiple use property.
What has happened most of the time here is that we have required PUD zoning to occur when multiple uses happen. I agree with Rick, the B3 uses would apply, but if they're multiple.
These were discussions that we had with both, Rick and, Jill. We were completely open about
Yeah.
what the plan was from the beginning, so.
Yeah.
Well,
and Jill was-
I wish at the microphone, it was clear and open, because this is the first I've heard of any of this.
Okay, well, I mean,
And so,
Well,
nevertheless,
I was under the impression at the BZA that you wanted to rezone for your business. But I'm not against multiple use, I mean,
I'm not
rezoning and putting it that way.
That-
And I don't think,
That's all that we're looking at.
yeah, and I didn't think it was specifically requested at the BZA just for yours, if you wanted to rezone to B3.
Correct.
And our questions were, what are you gonna put in there? It's my business,
Right.
you know?
Primary.
So,
Yeah, the primary function is for. our
that's how I
business.
remember it, but I could be a little bit off on that too. you know?
Yes, sir.
But I don't see a problem with it right
But that was
now,
at the plan.
and this is concept.
You haven't been before. the
No,
BZA.
we have not.
Right.
What did you say? They haven't been to the BZA.
They haven't been to the BZA yet.
They're
For
going
the
to
B3, for the B3 they have.
Correct,
No, B3, that was a rezoning before the plan commission to the town council.
correct.
The rezoning was plan commission, yeah,
Boy, I was really wrong.
yeah.
You and I are the only ones who remember things differently than everybody else.
That's because you're on both boards.
You're on both, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's, a rezoning wouldn't have come before the BZA,
No.
it was plan commission. Yeah.
Well,
I think the suggestion, Rick, only is that maybe the information was a little skinny. You know,
That may be, I don't know, I wasn't at the plan commission meeting where that came up, but I can tell you that when Jeff and Ryan and Jill and I all met, we knew this was gonna, that ultimately he wanted to do 2 buildings here and more than 1 business. We told him at the time, just what I said here. If you're gonna rezone to B3, you better look for businesses that fit the B1, B2, or B3. And if you're gonna do multiple businesses ultimately, and multiple buildings ultimately, you're gonna need to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is what you're doing next week, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Next week,
next
so,
Wednesday.
yeah, Jeff's absolutely right, yeah. Wednesday next week, yeah,
Right,
because.
because of Veterans Day, yes.
I'm trying to avoid a C&L vending situation. More so, I'm trying to avoid the Aurelio's gym AT&T property. Over time, everything has been broken down and broken down and broken down, and split the building, to the point where Locked In by the Lake had to make sure their hours didn't overlap with the other business next to them because there wasn't enough parking. And if you,
That's a BZA discussion now, isn't it?
okay.
And that's specifically why,
This should have been a PUD.
It's not big enough, Dave, they would've needed a variance, it needs to be 10 acres to be.
I know that, there's a variance there too.
There's a variance there too, yeah, because I don't know how big the property is.
It's
but
2
not-
acres.
Yeah, it's not 10 acres, so they didn't qualify for PUD.
Yeah,
But they've been advised by our staff, and, I think we need to listen what our staff is telling us.
And I will say that part of, as Dave knows, part of the zoning ordinance amendment is to get rid of that 10 acre minimum for a PUD, so that something like this can go for PUD zoning. Right now, you have to have 10 acres and they don't qualify, so otherwise they wouldn't come for a PUD.
and what, if we don't get that ordinance changed, developmental variance for the size of the PUD.
Yes, right.
You know, this reminds me of Brad Lambert's commercial project. And, you know, the piece of land, it was undersized, it needed variance, it needed, you know, a concept and a plan put together so it would work. And it's worked very nicely. But it's under a plan that was an approved zoning with a site plan.
Are you talking about Summerwinds, Dave, or?
Yeah, commercial,
Yeah.
Summerwinds commercial.
Yeah, this lends itself well to a PUD, it just didn't qualify. It would have had to get a variance first, to be zoned, to then get zoned as a PUD, so it would have been a it would have been a little more complicated process, so there.
Well, again, what I'm getting at is that in the end, it's correct. You know, you have a HVAC business, they got 5 trucks that are inside, material, et cetera. Then all of a sudden, the building gets split again, and now we have a, I don't know, indoor jumpy house. Now you have 25 cars out there.
yeah, again,
And this is, that's what this reminds me of, and I know the mess behind Aurelio's. It's continually a headache for parking and people and traffic and the flow of traffic, and it's insane.
I understand that, and that's exactly what we're going we're not going for is we have no intention of a publicly used place like a bounce house, or some kind of gymnastics thing or something like that. And that is exactly why we're going in for an variance for additional parking, because I myself, for my own business, want more than the minimum of what your requirements state, because I know with the amount of trucks that I have, that I want to have a couple of extra spaces for additional employees, and it's going to be used for just that. It's going to be, minimal traffic, additionally to Wicker Avenue. There's not going to be a whole lot of in and out. It's just going to be.
This is not going to be retail space.
No, it's not going to be retail space at all. That's not the intention.
And you could put that, the BZA could put that in, stipulations on.
Yeah, well, a flooring company being they're gonna have a little showroom. But when you have these accumulation, and again.
It's not intended for that. Our intention is to use the front space for our business, and there's gonna be nothing else that's really facing 41,
Okay. Well,
that's really gonna have a presence.
Please think about my concerns.
Of course, they were my concerns before.
Because, we don't need any more
Absolutely.
of these things like I'm
No,
talking about. We try to make boilerplates here, not.
Sure.
not
Well,
that. So-
and if Joe was here, I think she'd probably be able to back me up, that those were concerns that I expressed in front of her that we did not want. Those are
Yeah.
that's not our intention with the property.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, let's get back on track, my fault. Does anyone have anything else regarding this? Don?
I mean, we're just getting into it, but I have a similar concern about kind of how the parking lot short circuits that drainage path a little bit,
Okay.
but,
I didn't hear the what pet?
the drainage path.
Oh, the drainage.
The west part.
this going around.
Yeah.
Going around.
I think that could provide some problems in the future.
Is this part of the watershed issue
Yes.
that we had at,
Yes.
No, this is a different finger. This finger is upstream of Wicker Meadows, but it actually goes through Ileana and turns right away from our problem area. In
Turns
large
right?
events, it may still, it goes into detention basin on the Ileana storage parcel, and then the parcel actually goes east towards 41.
Oh, I see.
There's three fingers that go towards Wicker Meadows. They don't all go to that one house.
does this go north of the old Circle Olds property, the water?
There's a dermatologist over there on 41 right there, a chiropractor. It kind of goes in that general direction and then actually crosses under 41 and then
And
goes that way and then comes back and gets the West Creek roundabout. So,
It's a heck of a condition, isn't it?
it is.
It's exactly what it does, Bob.
Well, and that would, it would go through the pond, so it would theoretically create some tension till it overflows.
Yeah, well, that's nothing compared to the drainage area. I won't even drop in the bucket. So turning it actually, it very well can cause issues. And if you get a really storm, then you can start washing out your parking lot, which is a local problem. But I'm more concerned that it has a free flow path now, so now you're trying to turn water left and back right. That doesn't normally work as easily as it sounds, especially with how much water we're dealing with. So I need to look at it.
With that in mind, if one of these dumpsters is gone, keep in mind that you need to find some space for something else. And what what I'm getting at is, a dumpster, a roll-off box back there for scrap metal. I mean, I'm just not sure that's something that anybody wants to see there. That's just an example.
Don't have any plans for that.
All right.
And
Okay.
theoretically, we would have space in between the buildings, which is where we had one dumpster already drawn in there, so.
I understand.
We had actually made that additionally wide, kind of just for that reason.
How many tenants max are you thinking?
Certainly not more than like 3 per building.
3 per building.
Yeah, quite possibly only maybe 2.
Well, that number probably will come up at the BZA meeting. Heather, any other thoughts?
Not right now, thank
No?
you.
Chuck? No? John?
I'm good.
No, sir.
No? Bob? You good? Rick, any other thoughts?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Austin?
All good.
All good. Okay, well, I think everybody knows what homework they have to do. And, whitewater rafting is, not one of the uses. Although on occasion, it may work. Okay, you good? You got any questions? Okay. Thank you. All right, have a good night. Item 3, HB and HGT LLC concept plan. Owner, Chris, not even gonna try. Christoph Bais, 13932 Catherine Drive, Orland Park. Petitioner, HB and HGT LLC, Cedar Lake, vicinity 13132 Morse. Petitioner is presenting a concept plan. Is anyone here for this item?
That's Jack's alias.
I'm as curious as you are.
Jack squared.
I think.
Okay, all right. Jack to the first power. Petitioner is presenting a concept plan, and I see no petitioner. This is Morse, approval of preliminary plat for a two-lot subdivision. Is there a, no way.
North of the old Zips,
Right, we've
up the hill.
We've seen this before from another petitioner, but since no one's here tonight,
That was the guy that wanted to put the food truck there, right?
no,
No.
there was another,
This is up the hill.
yeah, there was another lady that was here.
It's right here, Bob.
It was, Eileen Butcher?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Eileen Butcher.
Ellie Butcher was here on this, several months back, but if there's no petitioner here tonight, we should just let this go and see if they resurface.
Oh, yes, this was the 7 acres.
They were having a hard time trying to get a road to build on.
Yeah.
She wanted a couple lots or
Yeah.
something, and,
Right.
Yeah.
And
The
the
road
road
was
getting a
well
road there is just gonna, I don't care what you pay for the land, it's gonna be,
yeah.
I think, cost prohibitive, but
Right.
not my money.
Well, you know, while we're looking at this,
Workshop.
well, what's the hang up? The existing gravel drive? What is, what's hang up number
Doesn't
one?
have public frontage.
Yeah, it doesn't have public frontage and.
Well, because of all these shades properties here.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have access all the way up to this property. They have to gain access from, I believe, from Marty Zaborski, if I'm remembering that right.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Up behind,
Utilities are an issue.
Okay, well, so utilities are an issue. The utilities would have to come off 131st and Morris, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. So anything that's on their property is their problem. So, and I'm good with it being somebody else's problem.
Yes, sir.
Rick, is this advertised for a public hearing for a primary plat 2 weeks?
Not that I'm aware of, Dave.
Shouldn't be.
No, it
Not
shouldn't be, no,
concept.
no. It comes for concept plan first, then it would come next month for another work session, and then it would be on a public hearing, but,
possibly.
Yeah,
Nobody-
the application doesn't reflect that, that's why I asked.
okay.
Yeah, but this is kind of a landlocked piece of property, right? How many acres are here? 7 acres?
That's kind of landlocked.
That's kind of landlocked, difficult.
1.5
It's a
acres.
total of 7, there's 2 in the front and then there's 5 in the back.
Okay. This Shades addition, are there any houses here? Or just all these small,
Where are you?
131st?
Yeah, there are houses down there. Here's the property up on GIS.
Yeah, Don's got it.
So the no public frontage issue is that there's houses on 131st.
There's just no public right of way that comes to that parcel. It's a landlocked, non-public running parcel.
Yeah,
Well, this isn't the first person that's chased this, so.
no.
No.
If somebody is gonna buy this and build a couple houses, I mean, I wish they were here to talk about it, 'cause, so.
Yeah. I know I've talked to two people since I've been here that have been interested in the property, really love it, but the cost of getting a road up there and infrastructure up there, sewer, water, sewer, whatever, it's just, even if you're giving the land away, I don't know if it's worth it.
There used to be a house up there.
I know.
So, okay, so I'm still confused.
I think
No,
there's still a house
back
up there.
There's a house back there.
Not in the blue shaded area, right,
Over
Don?
here.
The house is to the east of that.
Yeah,
Which
it's right
is
here.
part of that 7 acres, which also doesn't have technical
Yeah, same
access to it.
Is it
Right,
Ryan Boy's
right.
Place?
Yeah.
It's got some sort of
Yeah,
gravel driveway to
Boy,
it.
something
Right,
directly
which
to it.
isn't really supposed to be a driveway.
Right.
So, okay, so with that said, where the gravel driveway starts, that's Marty's property?
Yes, there's a home there.
Yeah, Marty's property is,
Marty's
he owns
property's
both
there.
of these blocks.
So anybody who wants to go back here and do something needs Marty's approval to put that drive in.
Yep.
Because Marty doesn't own those 7 acres.
Correct. And if you look farther, that would be north,
Yeah.
there's another gravel driveway that's kind of slanted. That gives you access to the house that's behind
Yeah.
there.
Okay, I see.
We're down.
So there's an
Exactly.
easement, that's considered an easement, but you technically, I guess, trespassing over that area in front of Marty's to get to your easement, to get to the house in the back.
So,
Right, easement.
so this concept needs a little more homework by the petitioner.
Yes, sir.
This needs a petitioner.
Well, yeah, that too, and the only reason I stopped on this is because this is like the 4th time I've seen something there, and, I'm just kinda hoping somebody can do something with it.
Yeah,
Maybe a town park.
I mean, the town owns the parcel directly to the east that's highlighted right now.
Where do we own that? Oh, I see.
We own a couple lots right here.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to access.
You could extend 130th place through, and that would gain access to the existing house here, and you could get to their 2-lot subdivision.
Yeah.
But you're still talking about the same length but you would be dealing with the town, not a private landowner potentially. So there are other options if they wanna go that way, but
And Jill and I had that discussion with Miss Butcher and, I think it was her daughter that was interested in it, but, yeah, there's a lot of hurdles to getting that land developed.
Okay, well, make no mistake, if they come back, this is another work session.
Yes,
So,
Yep.
because, I mean, I'd like to see somebody do something with it. Especially if they built two nice houses back there. It's not like you wanna put apartment buildings up.
The next one, they're not here either.
Yeah.
well, we have 2 people on Zoom.
That's the person on Zoom is for number 4.
Oh, they're on Zoom?
Oh, somebody zooming?
Is there still somebody zooming, Don?
There's a Jeremy Wagner and a Tim Kraus. Which one?
Okay.
Are we, when is the zooming, when we can
Never.
with Zoom? Never?
Well.
Under
current.
Yeah.
Year end is the
The
latest,
governor just extended it.
to the year end.
I think it's here to stay, unfortunately.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It's my opinion.
All right, item 4, Black River Bells LLC, concept plan, owner ARDT 3 LLC, 8205 Sterling Falls Circle, Sarasota, Florida. Petitioner, Black River Bells LLC, 7915 Kensington Court, Brighton, Michigan. The vicinity is 1109 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a concept plan, and for our prior discussion, we do have some petitioners zooming in. Two people zooming in. And this is for a new quick-serve restaurant, Taco Bell, with drive-through on parcel that currently is paved a parking lot. Okay, and this is, this is south of CVS. Okay. Rick, do you have any comments right offhand?
I really don't. I think I'd defer to Don on this. Jill's been dealing with these folks. I haven't had any contact with these folks at all. I don't know how much, if any, Don has, but
We have their engineering plan set, I think we're 60% through it, hopefully get something out this week. Yeah, and it's about an acre parcel, it's part of the existing, body shop, I believe. They used to kinda keep cars on it for sale years ago.
Part of Bob's and.
Yeah, it's part of Bob's back in
Well,
the day.
it's part of Bob's, and then it was leased for a short time to Grand Price Cars across the street.
Yeah, kinda seen several uses.
Yeah, I guess my only concern, with this is the east side of this. That seems to be a, shortcut, drive-through, racetrack, Amazon truck storage, during the holiday season.
Yeah.
The full Amazon trucks are dropped off, and people, the delivery drivers pick them up in their cars, and then somebody brings the full truck down and takes the empty truck back. I think that certainly has got to be cleaned up and straightened out.
Well, that's one concern, so this is not a legal lot of record, so they're gonna have to go through the planning process.
So they're gonna buy this from Tom and Ed's, is that?
I believe so, because right now it's the same owner. ARDT owns Ed's now, I think, or vice versa. So it's the same owner as the body shop. So, I don't know if there's a current access agreement between the two, ingress, egress, something like that, but we'll figure that out when they submit their planning information.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things going on in that.
Yeah, I mean, right now their plan is they're just tying into it so that, you know, ingress, egress would remain.
Except they have parking against the CVS property facing west. So there's a lot of pieces of this.
Well,
Is
yeah,
there a
that's all.
stormwater plan for this?
There is. They're doing a combination of open basin and underground storage
Oh, okay.
to make it work similar to CVS, actually.
Yep.
They need at least one variance. I don't know what Jill's kind of communicated with them, just for parking in the side yard setback.
Yeah, my name is Tim Kraus. I'm with Black River Bells, and I've got Jeremy Wagner from Excelon, and Jeremy's from A&E firm, and he can talk about the, any kind of variance and/or, underwater storage if you have questions.
Well, the only question I have is that our engineer is going to be reviewing that. So there's no seating inside of this place?
Yes, there's some seating.
28 seats.
Yes.
Why don't we have them explain to us what they're doing and then go from there?
I don't disagree with you, Bob. However, it seems pretty self-explanatory to me. But if you would like to give us a little bit of your presentation, I'd be happy to listen.
So I'll start it off. Again, I'm Tim Kraus. I'm the Director of Facilities for the franchisee. And we're building, a 28-seat. As you can imagine, in the last 2 years, lobby service has gone down, and drive-through business has kind of been our forte. So we're going to a Go Mobile, where people can, through their mobile apps, order it ahead. So we have 2 drive-through lanes feeding our building. And as you can imagine, the lobby, business has gone way down in the last 2 years, and we expect it to continue that way. So, smaller buildings are better for us. And then, from an engineering perspective, I'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, I guess stormwater-wise, we're doing, at-grade basins and an underground basin. Grading, we're just, sheeting to the south to some inlets, and then the drive-through is, sheeting to the east and west through curb cuts into the above at-grade basins, so, if you got any other questions.
You don't have any conceptual drawings, architectural renderings or anything, what these look like?
They do. I don't know if they're in your packet or not. I don't think they are. There's an overall kind of landscape drawing. That's page 20 in your packet. But they do have architectural that are part of the overall engineering plan. That's here to make your I can forward those out to the planning commission members.
I would just I was just curious.
They do have them though.
Don, since this is so close to the stoplight, I think that, I'd like one of your traffic people to look this over.
Yeah, we'll look, on ingress off of US 41. I mean, the other biggest thing that's missing would be, you would require to have sidewalk in the frontage, since we do have connecting sidewalk through CVS, so that has to be carried all the way to your south property line.
Yeah, also, it looks to me like everything could be shifted east to accommodate a sidewalk.
They can still get it in there.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I think the drawing that you're actually seeing on page 20 is actually old, a little old. It is kind of shifted more east now. Because if you look at it, yeah, it's shifted more, the driveways are more back towards the back of CVS, because they actually have a pond up in the frontage now.
Is there cross access needed between CVS and Taco Bell or
I don't think
whatever
so.
property there is on the south side of Taco Bell?
No, it's a chiropractor on the south. They have their own parking lot, yeah. And then the north, there's never been connection, so there shouldn't be a need for one now.
Shouldn't we consider, for purposes of traffic control and integrity, safety integrity, some form of connectivity to these lots? Otherwise, we're gonna end up like Highland, Indiana, and every business will have a cut.
Yeah,
I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Are you thinking like BP to McDonald's kind of thing?
Yeah. At least start,
Yeah.
keeping them off the
I
highway
just-
from
Yeah.
multiple.
And I can't emphasize enough this road, this back way in, to, find east of CVS, Tom and Ed's, through there. That has gotta be straightened out and designated for something or nothing, because, that's turning into a racetrack back there.
Don, would you mind pulling that up on the big screen so I can see where that is? I mean, I know where it is, but that side road that Jerry's talking about?
Which, oh, this one up
In
here?
between
One
the
east of
body
CVS.
shop and CVS.
Yeah, it's this one up here.
So there is parking spots on that side.
Yeah,
So
there are.
everyone's gonna cut through there, I mean,
Well, exactly. I mean,
That's where I would
if
go.
you're going that's the way I would go.
Well, we also need to look at the master plan for the roadway project on 41 coming in 2 or 3 years. I know it's restricted access, median
Yeah.
lines across from Harry O's. I don't know how far that extends south.
Yeah, I know that we've been in contact with the DOT and they've said they're gonna restrict our access to a right-in, right-out,
Right-out,
so.
okay. Well, that answers that question.
I think we're talking about our master plan overall, though.
Well, NDOT's gonna do that driveway permit anyway, so they're gonna drive that discussion. But, yeah, there is a discussion about kind of the ingress, egress, access easement through, the body shop now, but we should get some information on that when we go get the plating information.
When you refer to body shop, you're talking about Tom and Ed's, right?
Yep,
And then Enterprise is in there.
yep.
I think they're out now. I think
Are
they
they?
closed down.
Enterprise?
Well,
I don't know, Heather, they might be back. There's-
Oh, really?
Yeah, they might be, I don't know.
Where are they?
Yeah.
One side,
And
Yeah,
that's-
they were
and that's-
sending me to Crown Point.
Yeah.
And that was a BZA, I had 2 businesses on one piece of property, you recall? Yeah, I think that back area there, it really needs to be figured out as much as the, one cut kind
Well,
of arrangement.
you're right in,
And
right
there's room
out.
here to do it.
Well, you're right in, right out, and restrictions coming onto 41 may help solve that problem. Once you have restricted access into 41, your cut-throughs are gonna drop. I would hope. I mean, there's no need to turn into there just to go right on Wicker off of 133rd, since you'd be doing a circle. I don't know why you ever do
You're
that.
not waiting for the left turn light, you're not trying to cross traffic. So,
I think
the way
that'd be-
in off 133rd is through the back. I'm gonna do it, Heather's gonna do it,
For sure. For my tacos, I will.
so. Is this, either one of you, Jeremy or Tim, is this going to, look like, the Wendy's in St. John? Is this, I'm assuming
Well, I don't know.
there's a new motif for these Taco Bells.
I mean, there is, and the package that I have, I'm sorry you guys don't have it in front of you,
Me too.
but we can certainly send you the new elevations. I mean, we spend more money, we do a brick facade, we do not do EFS. So, you know, you wanna make sure that the building, you know, represents, you know, our company and the brand as best we can. So, you know, after this, we hang up, we'll make sure that we get you guys the new elevations. But it's a good looking building.
Yeah, we've got them, we just didn't make the packet for some reason. If you guys have been past the new Taco Bell and Crown Point, Main Street, north side of town up there,
Yeah.
I think it's actually nicer than that one, that one's pretty new.
Yeah, I don't think the building's the problem, I think it's the access at this point.
Yeah,
And you know, that back drive being used for deliveries, right off of 41, and, well, that doesn't work either. Deliveries during the day tend to be a problem here in town with alleys and do not enters and things like that.
Are you talking about our food deliveries?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the good news is that, and we get this on probably at least 75% of the, we can dictate that our deliveries can come during night. So if that's the case, then I will certainly make sure that happens.
I like it, John. Deliveries at night.
What if the body shop did some sort of ingress egress agreement with,
Well, they have to lose those parking spaces.
Yeah.
I just want it cleaned up, because it's Amazon van in the holiday season parking, and it seems to be kind of an anything and everything.
why do they have to lose the parking spaces?
I'm not sure it's wide enough.
It's wider than you think.
Is it?
I think
It's
there's
plenty
one
wide.
for two-way traffic.
frankly, I don't really feel like they would need them anyway.
It's plenty wide.
For two-way?
Yep. They're showing 28 on Taco Bell,
Those spaces are 20-foot.
34 feet,
Yeah.
not including the parking.
34 feet where? Between the
Between the
Between the
building,
CVS?
between the body shop building and the parking, it's actually
How
more
far?
than that. Huh?
how far?
34 feet, it's actually more than that probably.
Oh, 34 feet, okay,
Plenty
yeah.
for driveway.
Well, if there was some agreement, then I mean, it just. we
I mean,
need to get-
Taco Bell's showing 28 feet, their new road off of, you know, the body shop road, so it's plenty big, and then they go to 25, which is the minimum through their parking.
Was that your plan, to do some sort of ingress egress agreement? Or what's the point of having that road go to nowhere?
Tim, Jeremy,
Yeah,
the road in the back, Heather had a question about, future access agreement.
Yeah, Heather, I'm sorry, I can't talk, I don't know about that, but I can talk to our lawyer. I would assume so, since that's how we drew it, but I can get back to you on that for sure.
Yeah, and I really have to think, considering the way traffic is at 133rd and 41, right in and two rights out. A right out onto 133rd also. Because, to try to go left with the turning lane where it is, to get on 41, to go south, congestion, there's already enough congestion with people leaving CVS on the north side trying to go left. Adding another out going left, I don't think that's a great plan.
NDOT's not gonna allow it. NDOT's not gonna allow it.
What, on 133rd?
That's not their property.
He's talking about from Tom and Ed's body shop
Yeah.
property. And I agree, I mean, especially if you come out right next to CVS's exit,
Yes.
and you got somebody, CVS trying to turn right, and you're trying to turn left.
It's not right next to it. The entrance.
No, I know, not
Yeah.
the current one.
No, but the turn lane starts south,
Turn lane
east of that.
starts right here.
Can't blow that up anymore?
Oh, I can. Nope. Never mind. The turn lane starts, the taper starts right here. That's the taper.
Yeah, so see,
CVS is here.
you're pulling out of CVS into a left turn
Yeah.
lane, and I just, that's already enough of a headache, adding something else going left out of there.
As long as, if they wind up with a
No.
cross-access agreement with Tom and Ed's,
Yeah,
and people from Taco Bell can go through Tom and Ed's parking lot, Tom and Ed's needs to keep their access driveway onto 133rd where it is now, and not allow it to get any further to the west.
No.
and I think
Separate
right
NDOT
out,
would have no ability, no
NDOT
desire to
wouldn't be able
grant,
to
they
do
wouldn't
anything
permit
about
it.
that, that's, yeah.
Inside 400 feet,
That would be ours to control. I could just see a situation where maybe they might think about bringing that driveway, Jerry, straight out to 133rd and moving the Tom and Ed's current driveway over to the west, and I think that would be a nightmare. You gotta keep that where it's at.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking leaving the cross-access parcel going left is another bad idea.
Yeah, but you're going left out of there from Tom and Ed's anyway, right?
Yeah, you can't get,
Yeah.
you can get into CVS, there's a cross-access between CVS
Yeah, there's
and Tom and
a
Ed.
cross
Right
there,
here.
yeah.
Do it at
Oh.
great risk.
I
Yeah.
see.
You can do it right here.
Yeah.
So there's no barrier there, huh?
I don't think so.
There's no barrier.
Driveway's going in.
Is it? Okay.
Well,
No.
I guess there's a little more homework here. I don't hear anything that's, other than traffic issues and, cross-access agreements that, is particularly, thumbs down. Bob, what are your thoughts? Other than you like Taco Bell.
My thoughts are, I've got a lot of constituents out there that have asked me to get a Taco Bell.
And they,
I like your constituents.
and they put it in the Burger King building, by the high school. And you're okay with it being on the west side of the lake?
Oh, yeah, we
Okay, all right.
we gotta take care of both sides.
Just making sure. Don, anything else about this?
No, I hope to get through this by the end of the week, I hope.
Okay. Mr. Austin?
No.
No, no thoughts? Mr. Sharp?
No, sir.
I just have one more question.
I'm getting you, hang on. Deborah?
No, I defer to Heather.
You're deferring, you're referring everything?
Yeah.
Chuck? You good? Hey, your show, ta-da.
My only other question is, so the two arrows that are the drive-through, those are both drive-through lanes, correct?
Correct, yes. One's for when, if you have not ordered ahead, be the mobile app. And the other one is when you just drive up and just want to order normally.
So do we not need a through area there as well? Or are the two drive-through areas?
You mean a bypass?
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, again, I think of McDonald's, you have the drive-through lanes, but then you
Well,
also.
there's, so I mean, if you accidentally pulled into either one of them, it would be a short queue until you get bypass on the outside there, as I look at it today. And I agree with what you're saying, so, but I mean, the mobile lane, the good thing about the mobile lane is that if you actually order it ahead, you get in, you text in advance, and they just immediately wave you in, so it goes very quickly on the outside lane.
Gotcha, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So you're, on the outside lane, how do you get your food then?
You merge that in one lane.
You merge back in, okay.
Yeah, it's basically like the McDonald's, two-lane, system.
Yeah.
But you're ordering from one side, you're just using the other side to merge with the mobile order.
Correct, yes.
The two red spots on there, I think, are where they're stopping at the two windows.
Correct.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's a window, I have a different, but I have in front of me, the first window is, close to obviously the closest to the drive-through lane, then you pick up your food towards the end of the building.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Answers my question, thank you.
I guess just one other thing. You have a fair amount of green space to the east, or what appears to be. What kind of volumes do you guys usually run through a place like this, and does stacking, there's not a lot of space for stacking, perhaps?
I agree with you, and I think that as we start to push our consumers towards the mobile ordering, I think the queue and the stacking becomes less prevalent or of a problem. But I agree with you on that, and I think that if you look at, if we normally have 10 cars in a queue or 9 cars in a queue, with the plan that's in front of you, we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now, but that's using the mobile lane. Because they combine. As opposed to having one big queue around the building.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, I'm seeing, cars coming off of 41, you know, those premium times. And, now they're out into the drive lane because of volumes. And, that's why I was asking about a stacking area. I mean, the green space to the east is nice, but, we don't want traffic, sitting out on 41 like, you know.
Well, I think, we can strike the lot such that, because, 41, if you extend the queue from where a potential new order is into where a mobile order is, there's way more than 10. So, as we decrease the lobby traffic, the parking spots that would potentially get trapped because of that, become a non-problem going forward.
Yeah, well, just making sure you guys are, considering that.
We are,
Okay.
And I appreciate it.
Okay, Rick, anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Carnahan? Okay. Heather?
Ready to order, right?
Okay. Anybody have anything else on this item?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, Tim, Jeremy, thanks for, zooming in. I guess, we'll wait to hear Don's, comments at the next work session.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks for accommodating us.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll make the next one. We're trying to open a store here in Michigan now. I planned on attending, but I couldn't because we're opening a new store in Michigan.
Okay, well, if anybody there needs any practice, I think we have some fans here. So,
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Have a good night, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Hey, you too.
All right, let's jump to, item 5, resolution, 2021-02, Planning Commission Rules and Regulations. I think that, the rules and regulations, I haven't been confused by those terms. However, at the BZA, we have discussed some of those other details, orders and things like that. And, the same with here. I don't think, some of us totally understand what has to take place. For example, staff running to the county. I think that's a horrible use of time. Helping a petitioner fill out an application, that's what they're here for. So it's those kind of, details, I think, in particular, we're looking for with the BZA. What in the planning commission were you thinking about?
Well, I've set up the rules and regulations to be the same for both bodies.
Okay.
So, you're right, at this level, that I recall, there was no issue with the rules and regulations as presented. At the BZA level, there has been some resistance to making the petitioner responsible for going to the county to get the adjacent property owners list, sending out the mailings, and putting the notices in the newspaper.
Yeah.
My position is this: whatever we do, let's do it the same for both bodies. If we decide that we're gonna keep doing it the way we're doing now, where staff goes down the county and gets the list of adjacent property owners, prepares the notices, puts them in the newspaper, and that whole process that we do now, then we should do it for the Plan Commission the same we do it as we do for the BZA. If we're gonna put that responsibility on the shoulders of the petitioner, then we should do it for both bodies. I don't wanna do things differently. I don't wanna have, just like I don't wanna have a 10-day advance notice for Plan Commission public hearings and 15 days for the BZA. I don't wanna do that. We need to make that as uniform as we can. So, as proposed.
I understand what you're saying, but we're also dealing with two different kinds of circumstances. For this, it's all pretty straightforward. The information's here. For example, it was brought up, that if somebody comes to the BZA with pictures, for an application, that's one thing. If they come to a BZA meeting, and they've taken their own pictures again, the assurance those pictures being non-biased is very concerning. And that's kind of what, those are those little pieces of the puzzle that some of us are having some resistance about. Because you're not gonna take the kind of, if you're the petitioner, you're not gonna take the kind of pictures I'm gonna take. And because we don't have, because things have changed, and we don't have, you can test this, we don't have Tim and Michelle in here, who both or either went and took pictures. The pictures we used to see for BZA were, they answered all the questions, or a lot of the questions. Jill's been taking some pictures, and that's working also, but it's, to rely on a petitioner to take a picture that's gonna be accurate, I got a real, and this is, and again, the tasks are different. So to make everything the same, I don't know how we can do that.
I think we can do that, and I think we should be doing that stuff, because if somebody comes in here and they don't fill something out right, and then they go to the county and they don't address every resident, I see a flaw in.
Well, I wouldn't discount somebody reviewing documents that were dropped off. But staff running to the county, I don't know,
I'm with you on this one. I think that if we do it, it's done correctly the first time, it's done right, it holds us accountable to make sure it's done correctly. 90% of the people you're gonna send out to do that are not gonna come back with the correct information, and staff's gonna spend more time.
But Heather,
30 years, and you give people the instruction, they go get the information.
But
and it's not that difficult.
they're given detailed instructions.
Yes, they are.
They're given detailed instructions. I haven't seen instructions, but I understand they're being, I've heard it from him, I've heard it from Jill, I've heard it from others. They're given detailed instructions. We're here, the staff here is here to serve the public, I understand. But running to the county to get adjacent property owners, we turn into land developers at some point. Because let's not forget about the guy who was in and out of here every meeting for how many months, step by step by step by step. At some point, the staff shouldn't be doing some of this development. There's professionals for that.
Well, so how do we decide that? Take a vote?
Well, that's what we're trying to sort out here. Yes, sir.
The only question I have is, who's gonna check it? Let's say I need a variance for something,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get, all you guys are my neighbors. Well, I know you're gonna have a problem with me,
Yeah.
and you're gonna say something to me. So I'm gonna give her notice, give him notice, give her notice. That's skip you.
Yeah.
You don't get your notice, so everything comes in the meeting, and then you don't get it, and then you don't know about the meeting, and it goes through.
Well,
And
you
then
pull up
you're find out-
you pull up the GIS, you're gonna see the adjacent property owners.
But
So you check
how
them
do you
against-
know?
They have
They
to
didn't
provide us with a copy of the green receipt card, the white receipt card from the mailing, showing who they mailed these to. You compare that to the list of property owners that they or we, right now, that we get from the county, from county auditor's office, and we make sure that those people have a letter sent to them. Right now, Dave does all that stuff, and frankly, I think that's a waste of his time. I did that when I was in my other two locations. I had the list of property owners, and I compared the white mailing list, white mailing receipts to that list to make sure that those people were sent a letter at the right time too. They have to be postmarked. They have to be postmarked at least 10 days in advance of the meeting. So I would check the list, and I would check the white receipts, and then whatever green receipts also come in that people sign, when they sign for the registered mail, check those too. But the most important ones to me were always the white mailing receipts, because that shows who they sent it to and when they sent it. You won't always get those green cards back. But, and then you're always checking the proofs of publication to make sure that they were published in those two cases in two newspapers. We're going to one. So you're checking when, that the ad was properly published and timely published. We give them the form that they publish. It's a fill-in-the-blank form, and Jill, I mean, the way I did it over there is I held the people's hands, and I took them through the process, and I typically filled out the paperwork for them. But they had to contact the newspaper and put it in the newspaper and pay the newspaper, and they had to go get the auditor's list and send the mailings out. That was their responsibility.
So I guess then there's a balance.
Right.
If you, no, I don't mean that. There's a balancing act of good use of time. Do you dash over to the county and come back in an hour and a half with everything you need? Or do you stand at the desk, at the counter, or sit in your office and step by step tell these people what to fill in the blanks with?
That was my point.
Yeah,
Well, and that's because we don't know the process. That's why I feel like we're kind of pumping the brakes here.
that's the process Jill goes through now.
Yeah.
And educates the person she's dealing with on, here's the process you have to go through.
Yeah.
The more difficult thing, I think, for the petitioner to do is to come here and stand in front of this body or the BZA and make their case based on the statutory findings. I always told the people I dealt with, I gave them a copy of the list of the findings of fact, and I said, folks, this is what you've got to convince the people you're appearing in front of that you're meeting. Well, I mean, it's not easy to do.
So
they forget about trying to make that case to you. That's more difficult than the stuff getting prepared to come for the meeting.
Yeah.
To stand here at a podium in front of a bunch of people with others in the audience and try to remember, hey, I'm supposed to be approving these three or five.
Well, and as we've discussed, they're standing here asking to break the rules, and why they should be able to break the rules, and of course, the word hardship always comes into play. I want is not a hardship, which is one of our update items. And it's a problem. I just, if it's not gonna be any faster to have petitioners do some of these things, I mean, it all gets checked before it ends up at the BZA anyway, right?
It does.
It all gets checked, and you guys got step by step on how do this and do this and do this. And if people come in here for 15 minutes, 3 times a month, I don't see a problem with them doing the running around.
And you always ask Dave, has he checked the legals, is this ready to go?
Yeah, well, that's.
I'm not sure, Dave, the time frame, like Jill gets the information to you, but she gets the information to you that shows the adjacent list of property owners and who sent the mailings out and whether
I never get anything from her. I read the files when I come to the meeting, and I've seen 10,000 of them, so I know how to do it pretty efficiently.
All right.
And I can tell the adjacent property owners list and certified and green cards and the white mailings.
Right.
And the 2 newspaper proofs.
Yeah,
I see them when I'm here, Rick.
Okay. Well, and like I said, when the requirement is to have them in the rules is to have that information in at least 5. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I think it's 5 days, not 5 business days. I think it's 5 calendar days. But anyway, 5 days in advance of the meeting, so Jill has time to review and make sure that the notice has gone in and we have the list and we have the proof of mailings and all that kind of stuff. So you're ready for the meeting.
Yeah.
How many times a month does Jill or this person go to the county?
I think they probably just do it just once because there's a deadline by which they have to file.
So she would take the 5 petitioners
at the same time.
At the same
She's
time.
not gonna make 5 separate trips.
And then how long would she be at the county?
It just depends on how busy they are. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate it. It's probably 15, 20 minutes to get there, same to get back, and then whatever time it takes to get.
Couple hours she's gone?
No.
The list.
Couple hours.
I'm just trying to get.
I mean, an hour, you're gonna tie up an hour for sure.
An hour, 'cause, okay.
Yeah.
So we're asking petitioners to go out and do this where each, say there were 5, each one has to go down there separately and get this information, not necessarily back in a timely fashion so they miss the next meeting, where Jill or this person goes down there, spends an hour once a month, that has all the correct information ready for us on that aspect. Now, as far as putting together the ad and doing all that, I don't see why the petitioner can't do that. But I think the important thing is trying to get the mailings out and certification that that has been done, because that's the crucial part of having a meeting.
Yeah, and I don't think, Rick, I don't think anybody's trying to micromanage anything, but if we're gonna change something that we don't know the step-by-step of, I'm just looking for clarification.
Sure.
And, Nick and I have talked about this too, that we like to know what, we know what happens, but we don't know how it happens. And, I don't know how we can keep those things, leave those the same. I like the idea of the accuracy, because that's what it's all about.
Well, and that was my point about the whole timing thing. If Jill's taking an hour a month to do this, and we're sending 5 petitioners out, and 4 of those guys come back with the wrong information,
They don't go on the agenda.
Now Jill's making, we have to notify them if they're incorrect.
well,
Now Jill's making 4 phone calls,
I-
and answering voicemails, and answering emails, making 4 more phone calls, so now she's blown through way more than an hour than just
I
doing it for
understand.
the hour, coming back, it's correct.
I understand.
Just for accuracy and time.
Do we charge a fee for a BZA application?
It's $40 or $50, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a fee for it, yes. I don't know what it is off the
Yeah.
top of my head. It's probably on the application. No, we don't have one here.
Per application.
Yeah.
And we don't pay the costs out of that. That's a fee to the town for the privilege of filling out the application and presenting it, right?
Well, you've got some costs of the members, you pay the members, you have the...
I'll get to that.
Yeah, okay,
I'll get to that.
yeah.
So there's certified mailings. Who pays for that?
The petitioner ultimately, yeah,
And there's newspaper notices.
same thing. We pay for it initially, and then we give the bill to the...
So you have a $450 application fee.
$450? Is that what it is?
I think
No,
it is.
not for an application fee, but...
$250.
But the, depending on how big your list of property owner is that you have to send letters out to, those are about $7 a letter to send those out. But we just do adjacent property owners here. In other localities, they use larger search areas. And the notice in the newspaper, depending on what newspaper you use, the Times is typically $175 for a notice, for an ad in the paper.
Well, that's cheaper for town. You
Yeah.
guys get a much larger reduction than, say, a private citizen putting
The
it.
town puts the notice in, yes.
It's a lot cheaper.
That's true.
It's probably a third the price.
Yeah.
At least.
Quite a bit
At
cheaper.
least, if not more, yeah.
So to get to the BZA, minus engineering and drawings, just fees, we're at $400.
Yeah, it's more than that.
Well, I don't know about here, 'cause honestly, I don't know the fee off the top of my head to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. I can tell you that in St. John, for example, because they required two advertisements, and we do 2 right now, and it was the Times and the Post that most people put them in, $175 per. So there's $350 just in that. It was $75, I believe, to go before the BZA there. So you're at $425, and then in St. John, you had a 300-foot search that you had to send these letters out to, and if you've got 30 mailings at $7 a piece, there's another couple hundred. I tell people all the time, you could be $500 or $600 into this request, and there's no guarantee you're going to be approved. So
they're better off just putting the shed in the dark of night and hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best, but that also gets rid of some of the frivolous requests. you know.
Yeah, it's serious business.
Yeah, you bet, yeah, it's gonna cost you, Dave.
Spend $1,000, and it's gonna cost you $500 to put it in your yard.
Now here, because you're only using immediately adjacent property owners list to send the mailings out, you're probably getting 5 to 6, because you don't treat the street as a barrier, for example, if you get people across the street. So 5 or 6 people and one notice, we're gonna go to one notice. And it doesn't have to be the Times, Dave. Most people use the Times or the Post, but you can, whatever paper,
That's our designated paper here, though.
Yeah, there's really nobody.
but by law, they only have to use the paper that has a weekly,
Circulation.
you know, the language in the
Do we,
law.
yeah, do we give them,
General,
do we give those folks those newspapers?
I don't know, because I don't deal directly with
Yeah,
that end.
I don't think it's in our packet.
Yeah, again,
Gary
I think,
Crusader.
yeah, I don't think anybody's trying to micromanage what happens here. We're just trying to understand the process. Especially at BZA, because that's it. When they're at the podium, we need non-biased, super accurate.
And I just want to be consistent, whatever we do. Let's do the same,
Yeah,
Jerry, to apply for preliminary plat, it's $275 minimum.
that's a plat.
preliminary plat.
Yes. The rezone is $100 and public way vacation is $200. Just to give you an idea on the fees.
Yeah,
So those get paid to the town, and then the newspaper and
Yeah.
the certified mail get paid by the individual. That's completely separate.
But that's
Yeah.
all plan commission, the BZA.
but the town staff chases the reimbursement for that newspaper stuff. They have to chase that back to the
The
petitioner also.
newspaper, correct, which
Yeah,
is like $15 or something.
Yeah, but the town has to process that and back charge the petitioner for that. And I'm sure they have a process that's
Yeah.
fast and dirty and quick, but,
There's an interwoven series of responsibilities between town, our staff, and citizens.
yeah,
And then the uncontrolled third parties, newspapers, post office, county auditor,
yeah.
staff. I mean, you can see, it's kind of like spaghetti.
You mentioned the post office, this is another subject. Our post office has been closed for 2 weeks because AT&T internet doesn't work. That is crazy.
Allegedly. They
Well,
have computer issues as their issue.
Maybe it's a black site and there's 4 basements in that place,
how
Bob.
come nobody knows about that, Bob?
That's posted on the front door that they're closed
Okay.
Speaking of putting
because
something in the
of the
newspaper.
computers.
Anyhow, I understand what you're saying, and those fees do make people a little more serious about what they're doing. But people who've been here over the years, gentleman by the first name of Eric, step by step by step by step, the staff developed every aspect of his development. Spoon-fed him everything, but they might even filled out the documents, I don't know. Every single piece of, that's what I'm trying to avoid, that's what I don't think should be happening, that's just Gary's opinion.
More time just wasted doing that than running the count or the.
Oh,
county.
absolutely, so we don't know those detailed processes, the staff saying, you have to fill this, I don't want the staff to say, here it is, go fill it out, bring it back with $200. That ain't cool.
No.
That's not cool.
And that wouldn't happen either way.
Yeah.
You know, whether we continue to go get the adjacent property owners list or not,
Yeah.
Jill's still gonna go through that same process of explaining to the petitioner what they have, what they have to go through.
So your goal, Rick's goal for modifying this is for saving time, putting a little more onus on petitioners, is that the sole goal?
Where that's concerned, yes, is to put a little more responsibility on the petitioner and take less staff time to get through that BZA, particularly the BZA process. Plan commission process, Jack Slager is hiring Jack Hulls, and Jack Hulls takes care of all that stuff for him. If we get the occasional one-lot subdivision here, I'm sorry, I can't remember Mrs., she was 84 years old, she told us her birthday was.
Start with a B.
But anyway, we have the occasion.
Harding.
Harding, yeah,
Burn.
yeah.
Bernadette Harding.
Yeah. You know, you have the occasional one like that.
Yeah.
We deal, at the plan commission level, you deal with somebody who's got 169 lots like Jack Slager does in Beacon 6, 7, and 8. This is nothing to him.
Yeah.
He can do this in his sleep. He does all this stuff in St. John, he does it in Dyer, he does it in the other communities he works in. He does all that notifying.
So your goal to make the citizen a little more involved, I understand what the benefits are probably for that, but is there some super benefit that you feel is, to change this? Is there really something other than making sure they have a little more time invested?
A little more skin in the game, and then we save some staff time that can be more productively used, I think. Yeah. But again, ultimately, these are the rules and regulations for the Plan Commission and the
Right.
BZA, and I want you folks to be comfortable with them. And whatever you do, I just like to be consistent. If this is gonna be on the petitioner at the BZA level, it should be on the petitioner at the Plan Commission level. If we're gonna leave it the same, let's leave it the same for both.
Yeah, I guess, a continued discussion on this item, probably is in order again.
I think this is the only hang-up in it. I think everything else in the rules and regs, I think we've all agreed on one advertisement, the 10-day notice, not a 15 or a 20-day notice.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair statement.
I'd like to know what items the petitioner and the staff do, what can safely be given to the petitioner to do, and what actually should be done by the staff.
Well, I've already told you what I think. It is not that difficult, and I think the petitioner ought to be taking the responsibility of doing these things, not town staff.
Of newspaper, getting
Putting the notice in the newspaper, sending the letters to the adjacent property owners, and getting the adjacent property owners list.
those three items.
I think they should be doing those things, and then they provide us with the proofs of those efforts. But that's just my opinion.
Well, you're, 10 or so hours a day, you're driving the bus, so that's why we're talking to you about it. So, all right, I'm gonna jump to, the fee in lieu of sidewalk ordinance. So, Rick, there is we do have information from another municipality where they do a, 80%. And that goes into a what, sidewalk super fund?
Yeah.
Is that legal then to offer that?
Well, you need to ask Dave that question, but I think that the way Dave set up this fee in lieu of sidewalk, ordinance, accomplishes what we wanted to accomplish. I think it allows the money to be put into a fund, Dave, from which we can expend those monies on sidewalks, trails, anywhere in town. It's similar.
But I thought I did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you had some reservation about.
Well, I have reservations about that, and I have reservations about other things. But
yeah,
this is, park fees, sidewalk fees, and they're kind of, well, you heard it tonight. I don't know if anybody else cringed a little bit, but Jack Slager knows it.
It's at the bottom of his paper.
It's on the bottom of his paper,
Yeah.
note.
Yeah, I noticed it.
That's a dangerous place to be.
I think if it's a new neighborhood, it's a no-brainer, but these legacy properties, and I think that some consideration to taking care of these old pieces of property and making them nice again, the least incentive would be to offer a 20% discount on a sidewalk. I think the fee in lieu of probably should only exist on some of these legacy properties. You know,
That's
if
all
you're-
it
if
was
you're-
intended for, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna tear that house down, you say, well, it's a sidewalk to nowhere, we hear that all the time.
All the time.
All the time. I don't want people playing on it, it's in the street, the plow's gonna tear it up, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, okay, well, we can save you 20% if you'd like to get involved with the sidewalk master plan. Or, footpath master plan, I don't know. If that's not going down the road of, even remotely of, what's the word we use, oh, extortion, one night.
I didn't say that, I'll defend you, but I didn't say it.
Well, that's the only adjective that comes to mind.
I would use Title 36 to save you,
Okay,
okay?
yeah, it's a work session,
It's a full book, it has a lot of tools in it.
yeah.
Well, I think the key that, and I think Dave made it in that ordinance, was that it has to be voluntary, it has to be something that the petitioner offers. You're not.
We offer it as an option.
Yeah, at their request. They're making the request fully aware that in doing so, they're going to have to pay a fee in lieu of the sidewalk. They're
Well, when they stand at the counter and say, why would I put a sidewalk in here? Say, well, it's required.
Because it's required.
However, there is an option.
Yeah.
And that would be totally legal, wouldn't it?
That's a lot closer to legal than anything we're talking about.
But remember that when we started down this path, I think what we were trying to do was one of three things. In some cases, grant an outright waiver where it really made no sense for a sidewalk
Right.
to put in.
Right.
Secondarily, a fee in lieu of the sidewalk, and then third option was to put the sidewalk in. So I think you still wanted the flexibility to do one of those three things, but ultimately, that decision lies with you. You can say, we want a sidewalk, and it ends right there.
I think we need to have two options, not three.
So what, you want to eliminate the complete waiver altogether?
I'm kind of thinking maybe that's the way to go, unless we have to put together a footpath master plan, official document, ordinance, whatever's gonna make it
Well,
legal.
I guess that begs then the question of what constitutes qualification for a total waiver, so that it's uniformly applied, objectively applied, universally, and not
But I think there could be,
some discretion on your part to, well, pick this one, don't pick that one.
I think it's really hard to gauge though, I mean,
I think you take the total waiver off the table, like Jerry said.
I think there will be cases brought before you that would beg for something not to go in for whatever reason. But I think that's really hard to say
Yes,
X, Y,
but
Z.
we're waiving the developmental standard, which is, in your reports.
Yeah.
Along with a few other things. That's what I'm saying. We think, now, if somebody's gonna roll the park thing into that somehow, I don't think they can, but.
Well, that has another set of laws that apply to it also, that kind of companion for my comparison. Parker, and Rick mentioned it tonight to Jack Slager, we had an ordinance update in July this year of the Park and Recreation Impact Fee. P being impact fee. There's a specific statute for impact fees. So we not only have home rule by our police powers in our zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, we have park and rec impact fee legislation. So, we talked about this a bit. Dip, double dip, triple dip.
No, I understand, and that's why, I don't know, I think the total the total waiver of a sidewalk, if you're gonna waive the sidewalk, well.
Jerry, what's the criteria? I'll go back to that. If you're gonna adopt, or you're gonna recommend adoption of law, let's have the basis for it in objective fashion. What is the basis for a complete waiver, if any? What are the criteria that you will consider and examine for a complete waiver, if any?
I don't think we should be considering a full waiver at all.
Okay.
Here's the problem with that, though, I mean, you're a planning body. Leaving that decision up to the applicant doesn't necessarily fit in with your plan. So,
But it might meet the requirements of law easier than saying you're just gonna do it.
I think it would, but
Shall versus may.
I think it just kind of defeats the common sense part of it. Why are you gonna put in a 50-foot sidewalk when there's not another one within a mile?
Well, I'm not suggesting you can't develop the criteria for a complete waiver or even a partial waiver. You can develop that. You can identify parcels of land that have soils that are unsuitable. You can.
Well, how about if there's those,
Distance away from,
grade conditions or.
distance away from
well, the distance would,
connectivity or something like that.
the distance.
We
would
know where
certainly-
our sidewalks are, we have a plan together for that, we know where they're at. So you can do it based on distance,
Well, the distance would be the key.
but then there's also like location. I mean, that comes into play a lot too, narrow road, no room for it.
There is,
You know, there's so
some
many
Well, okay,
different
well,
variables.
Mr. Brown, first guy we saw tonight, Mr. Brown.
Mhm.
That's a perfect example of sidewalk.
It's not a sidewalk
And
within a
land,
mile.
and that's exactly right. There's land issues, et cetera, et cetera. We say, well, he said, well, the sidewalk's not gonna go anywhere. Say, well, we have this option here. He's gonna take the option. He's saving money. He's gonna save himself 20% if we offer the 80%.
I mean, that's certainly, giving him a discount certainly not forces it in, but gives him the incentive to go that direction, I guess.
Well, if we're gonna put a sidewalk to nowhere, maybe we ought to have a sidewalk to somewhere with an incentive.
Yeah, because you're gonna get the one person that says, oh, I'm not gonna give you the money, I'll just put it in. And really inevitably, you probably don't want him to put it in. So you kind of
Well,
have
yeah, but
to guide
I mean, that has to be taken care of here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if you leave it up to the applicant, you're gonna get a couple of things, gonna put it in, and it makes no sense from a planning perspective to put it in.
So, based on what you know about this plan from another land, what would they do? I mean, somebody has to police this at the counter, right?
Yeah, but it's still, in the language that I saw in their ordinance was still,
Three options.
decision. Well, and there were at least the two, Jerry. I don't remember if there was a complete waiver with them or not, Don, but there was, at the petitioner's option, you either put the again, I'm gonna stress, it's your decision. You ultimately can say, you're putting the sidewalk in.
Right.
We're not giving you, you're gonna follow our regulations, put it in. But if you're of a mind to allow them to exercise another option, it has to be at their, with their full consent. In fact, I think they have to sign a consent form that says, we understand that we are paying this money and that this money can be spent on a sidewalk anywhere in the community, not in our subdivision, not on our lot, not wherever.
Yeah.
And it has to be with their full knowledge and consent, to do that. This is the way I recall reading that. So,
Well, somebody who doesn't want a sidewalk in their front yard, I mean.
Maybe installed anywhere in town.
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe it's. So,
I think-
who thinks, okay, go ahead.
I think that everybody should be required to put in a sidewalk, period. Now, if you're putting in a subdivision and you're giving them an option, Jack could come up there and say, I'm not putting any sidewalks in, and I'm saving 20%. How much is he saving on Beacon
Well,
Point?
that's not an option for the development.
You know, well, that's the point of view,
Right.
as I think everybody should be required to put a sidewalk in. Then when it comes to like the legacy lots, because this is basically what we're talking about is legacy, because
Yes.
sidewalks to nowhere.
Yes.
That sort of thing, a new development, I mean, you can knock the hill down and put a sidewalk through it, okay? But we don't offer it to them, they have to come before the plan commission and say, here, my plan, this sidewalk is useless. What can we do about it? Then we can talk and go ahead.
You're talking about policing it in here.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that either.
Because we do a lot of things here when they bring in their plans.
Yeah.
You know, and so now we can discuss it and we can clarify what to do, right in, right out. That's discussed in here.
Yeah.
The way another ordinance gets triggered is by staff. Essentially, it says planning director may allow, may offer this. It gives them gives us the ability to control it at, I think, an application level. So that would prevent people on a larger, like, 170 lot subdivision from saying, I don't wanna put it, I'm gonna pay you for it. So that would prevent that.
You're talking about for new developments in the community, not legacy.
Yeah. New, it's not gonna be,
Yeah, we're not even, that news off the table.
this is
New
only
anything's off the
for, the single lot, the one lot subdivisions we see in the middle of nowhere. And nowhere near any subdivisions.
The Cedar Point
heights
Park,
right away.
the Cedar Point Park. They tear a place down, they wanna build a new one. Well, they're not gonna put a sidewalk in. They're not gonna do it, and they're gonna save 20%.
Well, a comment was made in here a few years back, probably in 2018, that the reason we want everybody to put a sidewalk in is because when the government looks, or the state looks at giving us funds to put sidewalks in, they see that we are doing it now. And so that gives us a tick on the plus side, because we're already trying to beautify it, it'll make it easier for us to get dollars. That was said in here in this room at a plan commission
Well,
meeting.
this doesn't take away the sidewalks, so all it does is applies a pool of 10 random sidewalks into a fund where now we can put a sidewalk to closer to the pool.
Well,
I understand
a walking path around the
where the
lake.
money would be used, but I'm just saying, what transpired in the past, one gentleman was up here, and he had a sidewalk going to nowhere, and he's being forced to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
Period. At a big buck, because he's got a lot of frontage. So, I mean, we gotta be consistent, I agree, we need to come up, we're gonna get money from them, come up with a formula or a dollar amount, a percentage, whatever, and use it for, like you said.
This
Like
format,
Heather just said, more sidewalks or,
maybe if one of you could,
You
send
do
that to
know,
us.
you all do know that you're all talking about inverse condemnation now, right?
I have no idea what that word means.
Inverse condemnation is a form of taking of people's property or their use of property by legislative actions. And the discussion piece here is evolved or devolved into doing that. Your ordinance presently sets up options. Your proposed ordinance sets up methodology, and it allows the input of the property owner for participation or non-participation, right, as Rick has explained to you. You go beyond that, now we're talking about that 80%, I don't know what community it is, by the way. Lowell. Well, that doesn't really surprise me. It's fairly a take, if you will, a take being, there are governments in the pocket, and either taking money or use of property or diminishing your use of property.
We spent a year plus, if it's not 13 or 14 months, initially when this conversation came up, we've spent hours discussing it, and I'm no closer to understanding what the resolution is, if any, than I was 13 months ago.
The resolution, Heather, is in the ordinance you have.
So don't touch it, here's what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying, no, it's your call. But the resolution, the conclusion to the discussion, the dialogue that's been had here, the debate, if you will, is what was drafted for you to comment on.
The proposed ordinance.
Yeah, the draft ordinance.
Yeah.
Right. That's all. But you've heard my hesitation. Every month we talk about it, about how close we are to the line, and not wanting to trip over it for reasons of legal recompense.
and that is because we're asking for dollars?
And or if non-compliance occurs or agreement doesn't get reached, that use of property is diminished. If you won't allow a building permit to issue on a petition by somebody standing here because they declined to put in a sidewalk, that could be construed potentially as a take.
Wait, no, I gotta admit, now you're confusing me, because we are saying from the start that they have to put in a sidewalk.
And that's perfectly fine, because you have police powers that
Okay.
validate your zoning and subdivision ordinances. You also have, case law that validates.
And I understand that, but,
The establishment of it.
but you said that if they refuse to put in a sidewalk,
Well, we've got a specific ordinance that's been drafted that doesn't have the same kinds of protections as a park rec fee, for example. Because there are specific provisions in that particular statute, that are different than a home rule. This is a home rule item of legislation.
Okay.
We're not offering the total waiver. You put the sidewalk in, or
And
if you
that's fine.
if you really don't want the sidewalk, because it's a legacy lot, you know, you can do that. Stamp their name on the sidewalk. I mean, just, you know, as a donation, it doesn't matter to me.
But we routinely grant a waiver for sidewalks on one-lot subdivisions.
Yes, we do.
Routinely do.
Yes, we do. But
Without any
yes,
consideration of
but
money.
that doesn't help the sidewalk cause in the big scheme of things either.
Right, I understand, but we're, like Don did tonight with the one-lot subdivision, he said, here's the typical list of things that we waive. Trees, park dedication, stormwater drainage, sidewalk in the front. Those are typical one-lot subdivision waivers that we grant. The process I'm used to is the petitioner in writing requests whatever waivers it is that he or she is going to request. It's not something that we routinely.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing
Well,
I would say about that, though, is the evolution of Cedar Lake. You can't compare just a St. John or a recent St. John or Sherrville. What we've done in the past 10 years here, just 10 years alone, is so, you can't write about that. So I think our rules and regulations have to evolve with our town, which 10 years ago wasn't now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well-
but are we granting the waivers just, I mean, the petitioner's not even asking for the waiver.
Well, and that was something I was,
I think that's.
may have already, well, it may be something that has already been discussed. Your comments on your page.
I mean,
Those few items that are customary with one-lot subdivisions, perhaps those shouldn't be on there anymore.
well, the reason that they're on there is because they're so common. I'm cutting out a step in a way. I can make the comment and saying X, Y, Z is required based on stormwater ordinance and subdivision controllers. They're just gonna come back and say, we request a waiver. So I'm getting at the same endpoint on 99% of the application.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not your responsibility. We should have that at the application stage where a waiver is applied for as well as the subdivision plat, so that public meeting action can occur on a specified request.
Again, that should be on the petitioner
And should be in the subdivision control ordinance.
to make that request.
Maybe a simple list of those things, as Don presents them in his report. Say these things will be required when they start asking questions.
Well, subdivision planning isn't simple. It's engineering. It's all about.
No, I don't mean that. I meant those common one-lot subdivision items.
Have a checkbox on your application?
The what?
Have as a checkbox on your application? There's a lot of checkboxes on it already there.
See, Don is in many cases helping the petitioner out because the petitioner doesn't know to ask for those waivers. That we shouldn't be requiring detention on the one-lot subdivision.
I understand.
So,
But I think it's a missed opportunity with the sidewalk for these legacy lots to offer a little bit of incentive. It's also, why waive 2 trees? I mean, they're trees. I mean.
Well, a lot of these are existing lots that already have trees. They're not like a new subdivision.
Well, if they have trees,
That's
they
the
have.
intent of that clause, is it's a brand new lot, nothing's on it, you need trees. A lot of these one-lot subdivisions, 90% of them are native lots that have trees.
Sure, but.
Too many trees.
Yeah.
Too many trees.
They have 10, none.
they're overrated.
Why
They are overrated.
Why at a certain age do everybody start hating trees? I don't understand.
I think
Well,
we're
I
the
only
one
hear-
that hates trees.
Nobody likes the rain.
He only
It's
hates
fall.
when it's falling.
I mean, that's how we breathe though.
Do you think that's important?
No, I don't.
I know a guy about 15 years ago moved from where he moved because he didn't like the trees, so they cut the trees down.
Doesn't make any sense.
3 trees. No, I know him well.
Was it you?
Not a chance. Not a chance. I love trees. I'm just saying that, I know you're trying to skip a step, but I think maybe reviewing some of those things, they're trees. If you already got a couple trees, then it fits. If you're not gonna put, I mean, I don't know, we're offering.
If you already have a tree, is it even a waiver at that point? Why is it a waiver? It's
Because it's
just,
required.
but you have trees.
But
Well,
It's an ordinance requirement, it doesn't say when it's required.
Yeah, does it say old trees or new trees?
Doesn't say old trees or new trees.
It says all new law,
Yeah, I'll do, but
technically a
this,
new law of record, even though it's an old law.
well, that's the other trigger.
Yeah.
That's
Right
it.
now, I'm triggered.
I'm just, listen, I see the clock, I understand. All right, well, I think that, I think maybe Don's, reports, need not say all those things on there. Maybe we just need to have those.
It essentially would change from 5 waivers to 5 comments. How are you meeting X, Y, and Z? And then they'll come back saying, we request a waiver effectively, or at least it'll turn into that, I think.
it's gonna get to the same point, the same end point. I agree, but it's just evolved that way, as Heather said.
No, I understand, I understand, but we have the conversation then, like John said, we have the conversation about the sidewalk, we have the conversation about the trees. If it's not a big deal, then we say, yeah, we'll put a couple trees in. But we're great, we asked. Sidewalk? Well, I want a waiver on the sidewalk, well. We do have it.
You gonna go to the update items then?
Was that you falling asleep?
No.
I could do this all night.
We know.
And you get up earlier than everybody, so you're the only one that could say that. Okay, so Heather, still nothing on the sidewalks. Update item, subdivision control ordinance, we've gone through some of that. Item 2, I'm not sure what, will be,
Don't have anything new?
Yeah, nothing new was received. That gentleman actually showed up here about 5 o'clock this afternoon, and I told him that, he doesn't need to be at the meeting because he hasn't presented anything new for us to look at.
well, I thought perhaps by his, some of his language at the podium that he was, realizing perhaps a consideration of downsizing was in order, but that's just my interpretation.
I got some of that, yeah, Jerry.
Just my interpretation, but whatever he has to have has gotta be,
If
yeah,
I may, Mr. President, Ms. Worley, I did talk to him, and he did say he has some new stuff that he is going to be presenting at the BZA next week, new plans. He has submitted to Ms. Murr.
okay, so he does have new stuff,
Yes.
okay. All right, well, stay tuned, Mr. Kapora,
I'm here.
okay. No, I'd say wait, guys. Okay, item 3, Wahlberg, 7315, Lake Shore Drive rezone. I think they were, considering, special use, a use variance from the BZA, which would, cover everybody rather well.
Yeah, that's
so
what
that-
I heard, yes.
That's that's gonna be a really good thing to have that there.
Their homework was to talk to their bank, and then do they come back to us, or they go right to the BZA?
They come
From
back
what
to
I heard,
BZA.
Heather, they have talked to the bank, and the bank has said that concerns as a rezone.
Oh, good.
Good.
Great,
That's good, yeah.
great.
Yeah,
That's,
Do they come back here then, or,
they'd come to the BZA, yeah.
got it?
yeah, that's a bullseye.
Yeah, why would they still come to us?
They don't have
The
to.
BZA for the use variance.
Well, they never
okay.
withdrew,
Okay, yeah.
they didn't withdraw, they wanted
Pending.
to keep it there in case the bank didn't tell them they could
Yeah,
do that.
I understand. I got it now.
Item 4, Cedar View preliminary plat 2-lot subdivision site plan.
Nothing new there, Mr. President.
It's my understanding they're going to submit something soon. I think they're waiting on some lighting issues to be addressed by the owner.
Trees down.
Huh? They're taking trees down?
I'm gonna ask too, because I'm having a short circuit here. Where's that at?
It's my understanding most engineering comments have been addressed. The owner.
Where is it?
Oh, Domino's.
Across from the chamber.
Oh, Domino's.
Sorry.
Yeah, we need to say Domino's.
Sorry.
Not the Dunkin' Donuts. Not the Dunkin' Donuts, not the White Castle, not the newest, the roundabout with the storage container.
They were cutting trees down over there.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty insightful, because, there's a few items that, have not showed up yet, have they? Well,
Maybe they hate trees just like Rick.
Yeah.
where were you at today?
Maybe he's trying to get it down to 2.
Right.
I was out picking
You
up.
got sawdust on your shoe.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Okay, letters of credit, Beacon Point Unit 4, expires December 11th, summer winds December 20th, summer winds December 23rd. I guess
All three get extended,
Extended?
but we'll see.
that's your professional scientific.
They all require some element of paving, and they're running out of time.
Yeah, they are. They
Which
are.
means
Okay,
they need to make a decision here pretty quickly.
so the draw date is 7 days before those dates?
We
That is the
likely,
draw date.
depending on when this,
That's typical.
Well, because it's week, because it's a 5-day week when it comes to that stuff.
the December plan commission's on the 1st, so we don't have to make a call until that meeting, so,
Okay.
with those.
I guess,
Asphalt at this time.
I will get to,
After extension.
that's pretty much the end of things. I will get to public comment, since we still have a guest.
Yes,
Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
yes, matter of fact, I do have something.
Okay. Hello,
Hello, good evening.
name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Brenda Roberts, 15008 Moore Street. I'm the owner and manager of Reunity Development LLC, that's 14908 Moore Street. I have been authorized by my attorney, Randy Wiley of Weiser and Wiley Law Offices, to deliver some copies to you of some documents.
Okay.
This is about my property that I'll go leave it for.
That's fine, that's fine. Understood, thank you.
And, we have some questions that we would like to have answers to. I need your guidance. I don't know what to say to my prospective buyers. 2 of them have dropped off because of, hate to say the word demands, of the Cedar Lake. And we just would like to know, you don't need one, unless you want one.
If you're gonna talk attorney, I probably ought to have one.
You have it, you were my attorney for annexation.
No. You
And you were
asked
the
if I
attorney
needed
for
a copy
Cedar
of
Lake.
this.
Okay, and the letter.
Thank you.
In the letter, there are some questions that we need to have answered. I voluntarily annexed to Cedar Lake my properties in 2008. And it was recorded, everything is recorded. I have also given you copies of the annexation ordinance. We have some questions that we need to have answered, outlined in the letter. And I suggest to you that that's not going to go all down in 5 minutes, so perhaps you want to look over the letter and the ordinance, and perhaps we should talk then about what you think at another meeting. In this ordinance, if I can point that out, I think I can do that. Water and sewer, as well as all the amenities of Cedar Lake, were offered to me for my voluntary annexation in 2008, and recorded in June at the Government Center. I've had two very important buyers here who quit their contracts, and because things were being asked of them that they just couldn't financially do, especially the towers. I'm not here to debate that. I just would like to know what we are going to do, and if you would mind to look that over and maybe discuss it among yourselves, that we could talk at the next meeting, perhaps. I don't know where to go with this. I have lost a considerable amount of money on these offers, almost $1 million, which I don't think is peanuts. So, just my suggestion is to look it over and look over our letter and see what our concerns are and get back to me and to my attorney.
Okay. This will make some interesting reading.
Well, I just have one more little thing to say.
Yeah.
In 2008, nobody here was here except for Bob and Mr. Austin. So maybe this is new for you, I don't know. I was very happy to annex, and now I'm finding all kinds of problems put in my way, in my path, and losing prospective buyers. I don't know what to say to my buyers that come along. So I'm hoping that you can guide me and read it over and discuss it and tell me. A couple of those things we know through the last prospective buyer, Costo. His attorney wrote my attorney these, again, I use the word demand, I can't think of a nicer word, from the planning commission, and given as a reason that they wanted to break the contracts. Now, I know one day there may be a tower put up and a line put down Moore Street. But if you read in the letter, according to his attorney, someone told him he probably should get out of his contract and wait. And he pulled out. So.
Well, I recall the conversation about the community well in part. And I know that the cost for that was quite considerable to the developer. And I'm not sure if
But you see, President Wilkins, Cedar Lake, according to my voluntary annexation, was supposed to be provided to me, and not me to you. And that's why I don't understand what we're supposed to do here. We'll have to make some kind of a compromise, or you tell me what I have to do. I don't know. For 10.5 acres to put up 2 towers. They were asked to put up 2 different towers, one for hydrants and one for water and I don't know what else. And on a 10.5 acre parcel, that's not possible. So, would you like to put it on a, discuss it at the next meeting, or?
I think probably at the next work session, we probably should discuss this, and perhaps Mr. Austin will have a review or,
Sure.
or some recommendations.
Okay.
That'll be in a month.
Well,
December
we
1st.
wrote this letter June 4th, so I guess we're gonna wait another month.
Okay.
But I do have, as a matter of fact, I shouldn't say that, but I do have somebody who's a prospective buyer right now. A month. Is there any way to do it earlier?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we make it a, update item? And we'll, whatever Mr. Hodgson has in 2 weeks for us, we'll discuss it, and,
That would be wonderful.
if there's answers, there's answers. If,
Yeah.
our attorney needs to talk to your attorney, then, we'll
Well-
know something's moving.
Yeah. Well, we would appreciate that.
I have talked to her attorney.
Okay. Oh, would you like to speak on this item now?
Not really.
Okay, all
No,
right,
let's wait.
okay. All right,
Let's wait. And everybody look it over because, as I said, only Attorney Austin and Mr. Carnahan were here in those
Yeah.
days to sign it. So you will put it as an update in 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks, it will be an update item.
Okay.
We will,
Is that it? What is it?
let me, hang on,
That's good.
17th.
it'll be,
The 17th?
yeah, is that 17?
Right.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, we'll leave it at, it'll be a meeting, and then, we'll, have this on an update item. So if there's an
Okay.
update, Mr. Austin can share it with us.
Okay, and maybe, I know that Attorney Wiley wanted to be here. He wanted to be at the last meeting, but I think there were 9 items on that, so we thought we'd pass. So maybe he could be here too.
Yeah, that's fine. Should this be an agenda item? Probably not. It's not really a,
Nothing to vote on.
it's not a, Dave, thoughts? Should this be an agenda item or an update item?
That's up to you. It's a public meeting. She came up to the podium tonight on public comment. It's a public meeting. So however you want to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an update item. I mean, obviously, if there's some legal issues.
Well, it'd probably be better, if I could say anything, to put it on the agenda. So it's not suddenly public comment again, that you had looked it over and we're discussing.
I don't wanna see it on the agenda because I wanna hear what the attorney has to say. I've been on this board for 8 years, and I remember, both times gentlemen were here to purchase your property. Parts of the comments in this letter are missing, but I would like to hear what our attorney has to say, and go from there before we even put it to some kind of a vote, or if it even gets that far.
Well, vote, I don't know, we don't really need a vote, we just need some advice. I don't know what to say to these people when they come to me.
Well, what you can tell them, very simply, what you can tell them is that they can come here, they can get the subdivision control ordinance out, they can visit with the staff, and they can examine what the procedures are for doing whatever it is they're proposing. That's what
Well,
can
then
be
you
done.
should probably talk to Attorney Wiley about that.
I have.
He said you haven't, so I'm not getting into that argument. That's you and him.
I guess I'll pull my file out and have the letters that show.
That would be a good
verify it.
idea.
Would be.
Yeah, no, I don't want any bad feelings here. I'm trying to sell my property is the only thing. So that if you read the ordinance and, look that through, I think you will see.
Everything's not here. I will provide you more data and information.
I've got stacks of it at home. What would you like?
I have it all.
Well, you should have, yeah.
I do.
Okay. What did you want, the fiscal plan?
He'll get us the,
Fiscal plan was also signed.
the physical plan, what do you mean?
The fiscal.
Oh, the fiscal plan.
Fiscal plan.
Okay.
I didn't include that, but I could. If you'd like copies, I can send them.
Well, I I and the rest of us, that I won't speak for, trust that, what Mr. Austin provides us
Yeah.
will be adequate.
It's public, information. Anybody can get a copy of the ordinance. As a matter of fact, I think someone did pull up the ordinance here. I don't know if that was the first buyer or the second buyer. And, it is, you have it in your file. 2008, June. Okay, so on the 17th, we will be here and
it'll
wait
be-
till the
it'll
end
be-
for
it'll
public
be-
comment, or what?
I would say, yeah. Yeah, but does anybody think this should be on the agenda, or not on the agenda?
Nothing shouldn't be on the agenda, maybe
Okay.
a public comment or.
Yeah, but we've already had public comment. It would be really very good if we knew where the place was on the meeting.
Public
Without waiting until
public comments at the end.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, public comments at the end. Mr. Wiley doesn't want to sit here that long, I can't speak for him, but.
Well, Mr. Wiley will. I'm just asking
Yeah.
if it could be done any other way.
Well, if it's not gonna be an agenda item, we probably need an update. As of right now, we don't know what the update's even gonna be.
Mhm. I
But,
understand.
perhaps when we see what the update is, I can decide whether it's an agenda item or not.
Right, I mean, and when you look at the agenda, the update items are just above public comment anyway.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be any further up the agenda.
Yeah.
Regardless, whether it's update item or public comment. It's.
Sometimes the town council does public comment at the beginning and at the end. We don't do that here.
No, I know that.
There's too many items to get through.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So,
So,
I guess, when we have some more information,
well,
we'll
that's
be able
a
to
start.
discuss it. Yeah.
I can get you anything you want, if you'd like to contact me. He could too, he was my attorney as well as yours.
Yep, I think we'll have everything.
Okay.
And probably some kind of summation regarding the item or some advice.
But yeah,
So,
would really like to know,
okay,
because, these people, they're sort of surprised. They come here, and then for 10.5 acres, they're sort of surprised at what they have to do. And, the question is the problem that I have to, furnish you with this or that, or you with me? I think it's very clear here in the ordinance, but maybe you don't. 17th,
yep,
at the end.
17th.
Thank you.
17th. Have a good night, Brenda.
Yep.
If anyone has anything else, speak now. If not, meeting is officially adjourned, and next public meeting is November 17th.